I can make the same statement and say that you don't believe in a God because of your irrational viewpoints and you believe in a fairy tale and evolution. So now that we've got those out of the way and we haven't got any information, let's get to the evidence.
Yeah, I'm yet to finish though. Can I?
Yep.
Okay. So you don't believe in something that points to facts or what facts,
brother? Do you see? You
points to, which is evidence.
I get it. It doesn't hurt my feelings, but you're being very condescending in the question, and I don't care. That doesn't hurt my feelings. I just want you to get to the evidence because you're saying you don't believe in the evidence that points to the fact of evolution. So your question implies that I don't believe in facts. I just want to get to the evidence, and we can skip past all of the ad hominem stuff. If you want to hurry up and take 10 seconds to call me all the bad names in the book, I'm fine with it. But can we just get to the evidence after that?
I don't know why you're taking it personal, but we're having a debate.
Yeah.
Don't take it personal.
I'm not. Tupac.
I'm not attacking you.
Tupac.
I'm attacking.
That's great. Can we just get to the evidence? I don't care about I don't care about hearing anything other than the evidence. That's what I want to get to. Please.
Okay. So are you saying that there is no evidence for macroevolution?
That's right. I don't believe that macroevolution, that there's any evidence for it outside of obviously just inference. I think all of it is inference. Okay. None of it's testable and observable.
All right. So you said macroevolution does not deals with time. If I'm hearing you right, was that what you're saying?
Right. It's not based on time. It's based on generations. I like to use bacteria because bacteria can have 9 generations in a single day. And we've done this in the longest running evolutionary experiment. We've done these experiments. We're doing them today. It's ongoing. So again, it's not. Okay, good.
So let me, I'm just going to verify what you said for a second. May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So you're saying that macroevolution doesn't based on time. 1 second. Hey.
I'm here and ready to help.
Yes.
What's on your mind?
Does macroevolution based on time or not?
Great question. Yeah, macroevolution, basically large-scale changes like new species emerging, does depend on time. It's a long-term process, often involving many small genetic changes accumulating over generations. So while microevolution happens on shorter time scales, macroevolution is basically a bigger, longer story.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What was that?
Yeah, that's my ChatGPT.
Oh no, ChatGPT disagrees with me? It's not based on time, brother. It's based on generational count. It's only.
You are dishonest. I can't even go no further. I can't even talk to you, man. You're a dishonest man.
I'm dishonest? How am I dishonest?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
You making fun.
How?
Brother,
Tupac. I know you went to ChatGPT. Congratulations. ChatGPT disagrees with me. Okay, I understand that. You claim I'm being dishonest. If humans could have 9 generations in a single day, the evolution, and I'm trying to get you to understand this, I'm not being dishonest. Evolution is not time-based. If it was time-based, now I understand that you believe it takes a long time to happen. That's because what you mostly go with is from apes to humans, and that supposedly took a long time. But it's not time-based, okay? It's not like the X-Men to where we see that every 3,000 generations, there's a huge leap in evolution. It's just not true. It's not time based.
Where in evolution stated that human came from ape?
You don't know that evolution teaches that humans had a common ancestor in the apes?
I'm asking you where in evolution teaches you or says that human came from ape? Where?
Are you the same person? Hold on, wait a minute. Am I talking to the same person or am I talking to 2 people? Your accent changed.
No, you're talking to Tupac. You're talking to Tupac. Don't worry about the accent.
No. You're saying I'm being dishonest. Am I talking to 1 person or 2 persons? I don't care. I'm just asking.
1 person. It's Tupac you're talking to. 1 person. I'm asking you where in evolution stated that human came from apes.
I think you're lying, brother. And you claimed I'm being dishonest. I think you're lying. Your accent changed.
It's a question.
I know. I don't care, man. I'm sorry. I think your accent changed and you claimed I'm being dishonest. I just don't care for the conversation if that's how we're going to go. I don't care to talk to 6 people at one time, but I just don't know why you're lying about it. I think that's weird. Devils, what's up, man?
What's going on? I just want to get your take on the genetics part because you know that 8 billion people can't come from 8, right?
Do I know what now?
Just genetically impossible for all of us to have come from 8 people.
Why is that impossible? You believe that all of us come from a single cell organism.
I didn't never say what I believe.
Oh, fair enough. I just took it on faith that you believed in evolution. Do you believe in evolution?
Well, evolution is a fact. It's not.
I have something
not-
to respond
I
to your
know.
last point.
Okay, I'll get to you, but it's not what I asked you, Devils. I asked you if you believed in evolution.
Debunk them.
It's a fact. It's not anything to believe in.
That's a great statement. So the answer would just be yes. So why did you then state that that's not what you led me to believe that you didn't believe that?
No,
And then
I
you
just-
instantly believed in it.
No, I'm trying to stop you from pivoting.
I'm not pivoting. You believe that we come from a single celled organism and you think that that's easier than us coming from 8 people?
Well, 8 people can't do it. Like, do you know, like,
But a single celled organism
Can I
can.
respond to that?
Yeah. But
The 8 people thing? Okay, so there's 3 different types of mitochondrial DNA. We trace it back to 3 different lineages, which would actually perfectly trace back
no,
to the 3 women that got off of the ark.
no, you
No.
trace.
Also,
Hold on.
yes, also-
Let's do one at a time. Because what you just said, young lady, is wrong. You trace it back to one woman in Africa. Mitochondrial DNA goes back to one.
Yes.
It's called mitochondrial
Absolutely,
Eve.
but there's subtypes. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Mitochondrial Eve. And we can trace that back to about 6,000 years, I believe, based on the mutation rate that
Yeah.
we can track via mitochondrial DNA and track the mitochondrial mutation rate
Yes.
of the DNA. And so we can basically make the timeline that would fit the biblical timeline. Also, what I meant by every woman traces back to one woman through mitochondrial DNA, mitochondrial Eve, and actually now they've placed that in the same type as a genetic. The atom from the Y chromosome. We can trace back all males to one male through the Y chromosome, and we can also trace its mutation rates, which would also line up with the Bible.
All right. So what-
they even acknowledges.
hold on, guys. What she's talking about there is you have 2 different. Yeah, brother. Just mute up until I get to you. Okay. I'll let you talk. I'm not gonna not let you talk. I'll let you talk. So what she's talking about there is the 2 mutation rates. One of them is mutation rates. Excuse me. One of them's testable or observable, and the other was an inferred. So one of them takes the known mutation rates out of like 10,000 samples. I actually think it's a lot larger than that, if I'm not mistaken. But they look at the known mutation rates and they calculate from that. That's testable and observable. The other one is inferred, and it's called substitution calculations. And that's what they take what they believed is a fixed rate within the mitochondrial DNA. So that's what she's talking about. And she's absolutely right. It goes back to at least
Absolutely not.
at its earliest 12,000.
Also,
We know
the
that
Y
from-
chromosome is the most preserved chromosome of all of the chromosomes in humans, and it is vastly different. It's very similar between humans, but vastly different than any apes or
I got you.
chimps.
So that was my.
We know
Let me.
that from interbreeding. That's
Yeah.
what-
Let me go back to. Hold on a second. Let me go back to my man Devil there, because that's a great point, because you said it couldn't happen from 8 people, but yet it's not just women either. It's every person on the planet today can trace their mitochondrial DNA to one woman in Africa, that you don't think it could happen with 8 people.
No, absolutely not. Because
Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So all right, let's make it make sense. Everybody on the planet literally came from one person. One person. Everybody on the planet today, their mitochondrial DNA
That's a claim.
can be traced to one person, but yet you don't think it's possible for 8.
Absolutely not. That's why with kings and queens, when they were interbreeding, they started dying off because there wasn't enough genetic variation to keep the bloodline going.
That's right.
The
But these were.
scientific community acknowledges that every woman goes back to one
Science
woman,
acknowledges
every
the
man
blood
goes
that
back to
happened.
one man.
I got it.
So if you're going to refer to
I got
science, you have to refer that.
Yeah, let's do it.
If you're going to refer to science, science agrees that the flood never happened.
Guys, I don't mind.
Can you please substantiate?
No.
There's no evidence.
No. For the love of everything holy, I love you, Christians. I got it. This is not your live. I know how to do it. I know what I'm doing. So please don't create a side debate. It's very rude when I was already in a conversation with someone else. If you want to have a side debate, then please go create your own channel and do that. Okay? But I am talking to Devils here, and if you want to add to that conversation, I will allow it. But please do not be rude and create your own side debate thinking that you're going to take over the channel. Okay? And if you got a lot of background noise, brother, you got to mute up, okay? So I will get to you in a moment. So, Devils, I'm sorry that you were rudely interrupted when I was talking to you. So I do apologize for that. So again, why is it a problem if we know that everybody come from one person, but you just think that it's a problem if we come from 8? That doesn't make any sense, man.
Well, I haven't accepted that we come from one person, though.
But everybody's mitochondrial DNA can go to that. Are you just not aware of it? That's fine. You can go look it up.
Everybody, including who?
Everybody on the planet.
Wait, what should I look it up at?
Mitochondrial Eve. Just type it in. Mitochondrial Eve.
Okay. And then, so I should just take whatever it says?
It's not a creation scientist. You're free to do your research on it. I'm not telling you to sit here and believe me, but it is.
No evidence of the flood. When I Google, is there evidence of the global flood? It says no.
That's fine, brother. If you don't want to believe it, that's fine. You don't have to. I'm not telling you have
See
to.
what I'm saying, though?
But
You see
I'm
how
sorry,
we kinda
devils. I'm sorry you don't believe it, but that doesn't make it any less of a fact just because you're not aware of it, okay?
Your own contradiction, though?
What contradiction?
You're saying I should look up mitochondrial Eve, but if I look up global flood, it says it doesn't happen.
No, I don't care what Google says. You're allowed to look it up and agree
That's
with it
what
or
I'm
not.
saying.
Let devils,
So it's like,
devils,
you
listen.
kind of are
No,
contradicting
listen. I'm trying not. I don't know why y'all can't listen. I'm trying not to get frustrated. It's not a contradiction. I'm not saying you have to agree with it. What you are free to do, though, is look it up, read it for yourself, and then say you agree with it or disagree with it. Okay? That's what you're able to do. Just like when I look at evidence for the flood on Google and it says that there is no evidence,
What
I
evidence?
disagree with it. Okay?
So where all the water
The
go?
great unconformity is evidence of flood, but we're
I
not
will-
moving. We're staying on genetics. Let's go back to
I-
evolution.
All right, hold on a second.
The great unconformity.
I'm sorry, guys. I got rid of her. I apologize for the interruptions again. So, what was your question, Devils? Where'd the water go? It went into the oceans.
It went into the ocean, but the oceans
Yeah.
were already here, no?
No, that's uniformitarianism. You believe the way that it is now is the way that it always was. It's not what the pre-flood world teaches.
Okay, so if the water went into the oceans, that means it should still be enough water to flood the earth now.
There is. If you flatten the continents out, then I think it's like 2 miles thick all over the entire planet. So there's more than enough water.
To flood the entire earth.
Yeah, to go over the entire Earth. If you flatten the continents out and bring the low spots up and take the high spots down to where it was a smooth surface, you'd have. I'm pretty sure it's 2 miles thick all over the entire planet.
Okay, and then you think that, because the Bible gives the dimensions for the boat, and then you think that all of these millions of species got on the same boat?
Why would you say millions? It's
Because
bit,
it is.
no,
There's
it's not.
millions of species now.
No, but it's the original kinds. So there's actually a scientific field already done
No
this.
such thing as a kind.
Yeah. So I got guys, please. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I know people want to add. I know what I'm doing. I got it. Okay. I really, really do. Okay. When you say there's no such thing as a species, okay.
Yes, there is a such thing as a species. There's no such thing as a kind.
There's no such thing as a kind. Why is there not?
Because there's not.
That's a great answer. Thanks for that. So I don't even know how to tell people to argue. There's no such thing as a kind. Why not? Because there's not. That's why. In your face. All right. So it's actually 6,000, right? You said millions. The study that was done on this is called baryometry, and it's actually about 6,000 original kinds. So it's not millions.
So you don't believe in evolution?
Hey, what's up, you? Hey, what's up?
Yeah, about 6,000 original kinds, brother. Okay.
So then why are you saying evolution is false then?
I believe in micro. I've already said that.
But what would be macro then? Just humans?
Different kinds.
Hold on. So what's micro evolution to you?
It would be this a trait that already exists that's either encouraged or discouraged, but there's no information gain in that.
Interesting. Okay, and then how did the animals, I guess like kangaroos, get to the ark?
They hopped.
On water?
Again, all right. So again, you're believing in uniformitarianism. So you said, how did they get to the ark? So let me ask you a question. Where was the ark located before the flood?
I think it's a fairy tale. I don't know.
So you don't know. Okay. So then why would you then ask me a question if you don't know the answer? I could say anything. And since you don't know, hold on, brother. Let's be logical. I could say anything. And since you don't know, you couldn't say that what I said was wrong because you don't know.
Exactly. So fill us in.
Okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I said. First of all, I already said it. They hopped.
Yeah, I had a follow-up question. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. But again, if you don't know where the boat was at before the flood or what the flood looked like,
So,
then
are
why
you
would
saying it
you
was in Australia?
why would you ask a question like, did they had to hop over water? That implies that you think that kangaroos were from Australia before the flood. Then the flood happened, they got off and then went back to Australia. That's not the flood model. That world was destroyed, brother.
The world was destroyed. Okay.
Yeah. All right, Devils. Listen, man. I've given you plenty of time. I'm gonna move on to the next guest. Okay. I'm not gonna kick you. You're free to stay up. That way you can ask additional questions. But no, it just don't sound like you. It sounds like you're kind of shooting from the hip and you're not ready for it. So I'm gonna move on to the next one, guys. Who was in here next, so that I don't skip anybody, or who's ready? I'll go that way.
That was me. That's me. Is my audio okay?
I can hear you, brother.
Okay. So you made some factual mistakes. For instance, you said there were 6,000 kinds, but then there are actually 2.1 million species on Earth.
Okay, so how does that? You said species, I said kind. Those are two different things. So why would I be wrong?
Yeah. So the extra species that made it up to 2 million. Where did they come from? They evolved. You believe in evolution?
No, it's micro. So you only had to have the original kinds. Let me give you an example. I know you like to use species, but I don't care. The word kind was here before species. And Carius lineus, I don't think the animals care about anything about what Carius lineus called them. They could give two farts in the wind about it, right? Excuse me. So you have like the cat kind, right? Lions and tigers. Noah did not have to have lions and tigers on the ark. They are from the original kind. They're both the cat family, right? So after they got off the ark, they could have microevolution, which I already agreed with. They could have come from each other. It's just different shaped hair and different colors. That's all they are.
So where did you get this idea from? Because it's not biblical.
It's not biblical? Oh, okay.
Yeah, did you make it up?
No, I didn't make it up. It's what the Bible says.
The Bible never said there were 6,000 kinds.
No. The Bible doesn't say that. It just says, those that have the breath of life in their nostrils. That's what it says. So they have to breathe through their nostrils like we do. So you wouldn't have to have insects on the ark. They live just fine on floating debris mats, no problem. They also breathe through their skin. You wouldn't have to have fish because they don't have the breath of life in their nostrils, right? So fish wouldn't have to be on the ark. Yeah, in a second. So yeah, that's what the Bible says. So clearly that kind of narrows it down, right, to birds and land mammals, right, or land animals, I should say.
Can I ask a question?
And then you believe that after the flood, Noah's children had incest to reproduce the world?
Out of 8 people, yeah. If you want to classify it that, yeah.
So how did black people come about?
That's
evolution.
That's melanin in your skin. That trait already exists. It's just mating with more melanin and other people mating with less melanin. That's all that is, brother.
All Noah's children, right? So black people evolved out of that.
I don't like evolved. It's a trait that already existed. Melanin existed, and it still exists. And if you have more melanin, you're dark skinned. If you have less melanin, you're light skinned. So that's not evolution. That trait already exists.
But that's exactly how evolution works. But don't you think so?
No, that's not how it works. I know you guys want to. That's okay. Great statement. Now, can we prove it?
Yes.
Okay. Let me get. I need genetic information gained that's testable and observable and not inferred.
Yeah. You mentioned mitochondria Eve. Then you gave a wrong date. You said it's 6,000 years old.
No, I did not say that at all. The young lady said that. Now, my goodness, you got a lot of background noise, young lady. I need to mute you up. Okay. So I did not say that. The young lady said that it's 6,000. So you have 2 different measuring techniques. One of them is let me pull it up here real quick so that I'm not giving you any false information. And it's about 12. Hold on.
The first one said 90,000, and then they did recent DNA sequencing and put it at 150 to 200.
Okay, so you have 2 different measuring techniques. Okay, one of them is called pedigree calculation. The other one's called substitution calculations. So look up pedigree calculation. Pedigree calculations are the one that's testable and observable, and it goes back. I think it's 12,000 years, if I'm not mistaken. So it goes back to a younger Earth, 12,000. That's pedigree calculation. And then substitution calculations are the ones that you're inferring to, and that gives you your hundreds of thousands of years or 100,000 years. Okay. One of them is testable and observable, and the other one's inferred. And I'll ask you, which one do you think is testable and observable that gives you the young one? How am I wrong?
Because you're wrong.
That's
Yeah, I just googled it, and you're wrong. Mitochondria Eve, the most recent common matrilineal ancestor of all humans, estimated to have lived about 90 to 200,000.
Okay, so ask Google now about the pedigree calculations and not substitution calculations.
I asked it, and it says based on that it's 90 to.
There's no way that you got. Ball. I think
wait,
you're.
wait, let me read it.
No, hold on.
0.95 mutations per base pair. All right. So they did it, and then it fell to that. So where are you getting your 6,000?
Are you okay? Are you okay?
Yeah, are you gonna deny now? Go ahead and deny.
Yeah, let me deny since I already said it. And please don't make me make a clip of you so you can come back later and watch it and realize that you were factually wrong and I was absolutely right. Did I ever claim? Ball, let me ask you. Hold on, man. Listen, brother. Listen to me. Listen to me. I love doing this, but I hate wasting my time. It makes my skin itch. Did I make the claim that it was 6,000 years old?
Yeah, you said one
Okay.
of them related to 6,000 years.
All right, man. Appreciate you coming. You're just you can't listen, right? It's impossible for you to listen. No, I did not. That was the young lady that come up here, and I even stopped you and told you, hey, brother, that wasn't me. She said 6,000. That was her claim, not mine. My claim is that the pedigree calculations, if I'm not mistaken, goes back to at least 12,000. So I usually give it more than that because I think that's the least. 12,000, not 6. So you can't listen. And if you can't listen, I'll tell you what, you can come back later. I'll make a clip of it, and then you can come back and go, oh, wait, crap, he was right. And I don't know how to have a conversation because I'm incapable of listening. All right, brother, you said you had a question?
Yeah, what happens to a freshwater fish when it's added to salt water?
Depends. If you add it slowly, some of them do just fine. There's been experiments on it, if I'm not mistaken.
So is there any fish that can eventually live in salt water?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Is there any freshwater fish that can actually, given enough time, how much time would they need, do you think?
They do it now, brother.
No, they don't.
Okay. All right. Go look up salmon, okay? I want you to go look up.
That's
I know.
different type.
Yeah, it's a fish that lives in salt water and fresh water. And I didn't realize that I'd let you back up, or I wouldn't have, because you're incapable of listening to it. Q, I think you were in here next, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I was in here next.
What's up, brother?
Do you really think that people are barely young on the earth? Like, it seems like evolution is more likely, especially with our last universal common ancestor.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to agree with that one.
Okay. So what do you got?
Like, it says 3.9 to 4.2 billion years ago, we were able to adapt and adopt from this universal ancestor to develop into the people we are today. How can you truly deny this evidence and say that we came from two people?
Okay, so mitochondrial Eve, right? Mitochondrial Eve. Do you know about it? Do you believe in it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you said that we come from two people, but yet we go from all one. We all go back to one person. So how am I denying any evidence? Give me the evidence.
We all come from a universal ancestor, and we in evolution.
Brother, I'm gonna be honest with you. Is that the way you talk, or are you trying to just be funny for some reason?
You went out talking.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if you would have answered it honestly, I probably would have let you stay. But that's clearly not how you talk, and you're just trying to be funny. I don't have time for the trolls, guys. If you want to have a conversation, I like conversations. You can disagree with me all you want, but you can go and troll on somebody else's channel. Jackson, what's up, man?
What's up, dude?
What you got, brother?
All right. So you said you don't believe in evolution?
I believe in micro.
So you believe in micro, but how can you believe in microevolution if you don't believe in macro? Because macroevolution is simply just small changes in species over time. It's just a repeated amount of microevolution.
I know you believe that, but I can test
No,
microevolution.
that's just true.
Okay. How can I?
Let's be logic here. Let's be logical here.
Okay.
It's literally just microevolution over a long period of time.
Okay. So why is it when we test and observe it, it degrades? Why is it that when we do the longest running evolutionary experiments, why is it that every time we test and observe it, we usually get degradation? But long ago and far away, we got all this information gained.
Okay, so okay. Well, I guess there's not.
All right, so now would be a good time, guys, for me to go over my rules because I've been doing this for a little while and then I've got a lot of trolls. Now that the trolls are kind of out of the way and I'm starting to have better conversation, I have some rules. Rule number 1 is you have to answer questions directly. I will do the same to you, right? I will answer your question directly and then you can expound. I'm not saying you have to answer yes, no's or anything like that. But if somebody asks you a question, you need to answer it directly. And I don't know is a perfectly good answer, but you need to answer the question and then expound. 2, if you make a claim, you have to support that claim or back off of it. The conversation ends if you make a claim and you refuse to support it or come off of it. And then 3, you need to use TikTok language. So obviously I don't get kicked. And I'm coming up with a 4th one. Don't be weird. All right, Jackson. So do you have any evidence for macro?
Do I have any evidence for macro?
Testable and observable that's not inferred.
Okay, well, no, but you just said you believe in it, so how is that relevant?
Micro. So I said macro.
Oh shoot, sorry, I'm sorry.
No
But
problem.
yeah, but think about it logically, right? We don't just go from one species to the next. That's just not how it works.
But
One day humans
I
are
hear
just gonna
this. I hear this all the time, Jason, or Jackson, excuse me. I'm not trying to interrupt you, but I'm going to show you. That is exactly what you believe. And then you just say no, and then eventually you do believe that.
That's not what I believe.
Okay,
It's just
so-
a fact that it.
Okay, let me ask you.
Macroevolution is a repeated amount of microevolution.
Fair enough, but it's
That's
still,
what I believe.
you still believe it went from one kind to another kind. That's exactly what you believe.
Over a long period of time.
Great,
through
but
microevolution.
that's great, but you still do believe that, don't you?
That what?
That it goes from one kind to another. First, you said that's not what you believe, and I said yes, it is. And then eventually, you're going to say, yeah, we do believe that, right? You do believe that it goes from one kind to another because you just said that's not what evolution is, and clearly, you're about to say, yeah, that's exactly what we believe, right? That we do go eventually from one kind to another kind, right? Where'd he go? He just left? All right. Cricket, what's up? Excuse me. I muted you up earlier because you had a lot of noise in the background, so you got to hit the little mic button over there, okay?
I don't think Cricket's here anymore.
Cricket, you there? Yeah, I'll give you an opportunity to come back. Well, I'll let you stay up until I give you a couple minutes. Puck, I can't see the rest of your name.
Yeah, what's up?
What's up, brother? You doing all right?
Yeah.
What you got?
Do you not believe in evolution?
I believe in micro. I don't believe in macro or anything outside of that.
Even though we have fossil records and molecular biology?
Okay, you can't go with fossils because you would have to prove that fossil had children that lived, and I don't think you can do that.
Well, fossils were able to document every single species.
No, yeah, in that. Sorry, I thought you were getting ready to say something else. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that the fossil will tell you is that organism unalived.
Yeah, but it's proof that organism lived at some point. We were able to use the fossil record
No,
to actually show the theory of evolution.
I would.
As creatures were able to adapt to environment
Sure.
and everything else.
Sorry.
Other features that cause them to develop into similar creatures of today.
All right, sorry, I gave it a second there because I was not trying to interrupt you, but I think there's a little bit of a delay. So I would agree with you that it proves that these organisms lived, but that's still not the point. I understand that they lived, that's why they're bones, but they're unalive now. But you cannot prove that they're related to anything outside of its kind. You're using shapes and assumptions. What they do is they line these things up by their shapes, and they literally go, this looks like that, so therefore we come from this. That's literally what they do. Shapes and assumptions, brother. That's not evidence.
It is when we can find some common traits between each animal.
Common
like wing size, bone marrow density.
That would prove common designer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. It could also prove common designer, so therefore it's not evolution.
Oh, my bad. I didn't realize I was muted.
Gotcha.
But what about molecular biology? We've developed with codons and anticodons in order to develop new and synthesize new proteins that develop life.
Like what?
What do you mean, like what?
Wait, you said that these proteins develop life? You're telling me we've done this in a lab?
Synthesized proteins are able to specialize the functions in human bodies.
I know, brother. Don't listen. You made a claim. I want to ask you about the very claim that you made, okay? You synthesize protein to create life. You seen that?
That's part of life, yes.
So they've tested and observed that?
Yes.
No, that's factually incorrect, brother. You're wrong on that one.
It is.
No, it's not. They have not.
Are you familiar with the process of?
I'm familiar with almost every single experiment that they've done in an effort to create life, and you thinking that they've done it, I know you're factually incorrect. That's not right. They've never created life in the lab. Only thing they've ever created is amino acids.
They've been able to prove that these adoptions. Are you familiar with the? What was it?
Hold on, brother. Don't wait a minute. Don't just run from that. That's a pretty big claim that you made that they've tested and observed them creating life in a lab. That's factually inaccurate, man. You can't just run past that. You have to understand that that's not true, right?
I never said that. I said protein synthesis caused development and evolution.
All right, that's not what you said.
It is true.
Okay, if you want to change it, I will allow that. It's maybe you misspoke, but that's not what you said. I even asked you clarifying questions as if they've created life in the lab, and you said yes. So I asked you clarifying questions to make sure, but if you want to come off of it now, I got no problem with that.
Okay. But how could you deny that this protein synthesis and this developing structure is not a sign of evolution?
Because it does what it's supposed to do.
But it's developed to be better, to suit more environments.
That's great. That's micro. I believe in micro. I think God wrote enough in the genetic code for animals to change to adapt to their surroundings. That's in the genetic code. It's never produced anything outside of its kind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you can take a dog, like a wolf, for example, and you can artificially select these traits, and you can breed it down to a Chihuahua. That's testable and observable. Let me ask you this. Can they take the Chihuahua and breed it back to a wolf?
Well, hypothetically, they could.
They should be able to, but no, they can't. Hypothetically, they should be able to, but factually, they can't. And the reason why is because that information that originally existed is degraded. That's what we see. That's what we see throughout.
Yeah. You familiar with the Hercules temperature paradox by chance?
No.
Right. So Hercules temperature paradox, or HTP, was the study that they ran about 50 years ago, but it proved though that the flood actually never happened, and also consequently proved evolution.
Okay. What about it? I'm unfamiliar with it. What about it? It proved evolution.
Right. Well, they were able to analyze, fossils, but you've said that that's, doesn't have any validity behind it, right? But they were analyzing some fossils that they were able to dig up, specifically Argentina and other places around South America, right? And they were able to see, differences in their build and their bone marrow and other physical traits. What's the Hercules temperature thing that you mentioned that disproved the flood? Yeah, right. That's the Hercules temperature paradox, otherwise known as HTP. And it essentially, specifically on the matter of the flood, it was able to analyze erosion levels seen in rocks that were around the shorelines. And we've essentially been able to tell the erosion would be impacted by the temperature. That's why it's the temperature paradox. And we were able to see that the erosion lines were actually completely different from what you would expect if they were a flood. So it disproves the flood.
What?
To agree with this point.
Where is the? I know you agree with it. That's great. So where are these erosion marks at? Are they bedrock or on sedimentary layers?
Sedimentary layers, but
yeah. So that wouldn't disprove the flood, brother. The flood's what laid down the sedimentary layers. Now, if you was going to say bedrock, I would say, okay, that's interesting. I'd have to look into it. But if the sedimentary layers got laid down in the flood, then that couldn't disprove the flood.
I think it was bedrock, was it not?
Oh, now we're just going to change it?
That's what I said. That's what I believe. It was bedrock.
I don't know if it disproved it, but it would be something I'd have to look into.
Didn't the Hercules temperature paradox also prove that the electromagnetic waves of the light particles wouldn't be able to sustain a flood to such a degree?
How do they sustain?
Is that right, Trevor?
How does that sustain a flood?
It wouldn't be able to sustain a flood.
Okay, well then tell me how it sustains a flood so that it wouldn't.
How it sustains a flood?
How it sustains a flood.
How would it be able to?
Yeah, you said it couldn't sustain a flood. So how would it be able to? What about this particle means that it needs or it couldn't have a flood? I'm not getting it.
It couldn't have a flood because of the constant light levels, and especially the sedimentary layers would absorb most of the water, and the light levels would be too much that the flood wouldn't be able to form to such a degree in the first case.
Wouldn't be able to.
So the HTP shouldn't even be talked about because it isn't a recognized concept. It's not in any scientific books or literature.
Well, I don't mind it because they're allowed to bring up the evidence and we can have a conversation about it. The problem was even I didn't hear about it and it automatically got debunked in about 3 seconds. So I don't mind bringing it up. So that's how I don't even know about it and it was easy to debunk. But I'm more interested, Tyson or Pocket, excuse me, about how you said that this wouldn't sustain the flood levels. Like, are you saying it couldn't go over Mount Everest, or is that what I'm kind of confused?
So obviously the flood was one of the largest was ever recorded in the history, if it were to exist.
Right.
So the light levels and the absorption of the earth would absorb most of the water. So if the flood were to occur, it would be much smaller than it actually was.
But why is that? Why what makes you think that they would absorb the water? You're muted. You're still muted. All right. I don't know what happened to him. Maybe he got a phone call or something.
Oh, wait. I fixed it. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. What was your question?
So what makes you, so you're telling me the sediment layers with the water on top of it would absorb the water?
It'd be able to absorb much of the water before the flood even occurred.
I got you. So let me get this. So you believe that the sediment layers were there before the flood?
Some of them, yes. And especially the light waves that were coming in the area.
That's the problem, brother. The flood model teaches that it laid down the sediment layer. So it took all the dirt on Earth, basically, and shook it around, and then it got laid out in sediment layers. It's called hydrologic sorting. We see this in a flood. And in fact, funny thing about it is we see this all over the Earth. I can make a prediction right now that if you're standing on dry ground and not bedrock, that you can take a core sample of wherever you're at, and you're going to see evidence of that worldwide flood in hydrologic sorting. So you're stating that the sediment layers would suck up all the water. You're inferring that the sediment layers were there to begin with. That's your problem.
Interesting. Trevor, are you familiar with the study anymore?
Sorry, yeah, my mic's working here, right? All right, there we go. Yeah, I mean, this perfectly segues actually into the auto experiment. If you're are you familiar? Auto experiment?
Mm-mm. What's that?
Not familiar with the auto. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean, essentially, the auto experiment was able to, give us, a plethora of evidence suggesting that essentially what Poker is saying here is, or Poke, whatever his name is entirely factual. All of his claims so far are.
Oh yeah, they're absolutely supported that the sediment layers sucked up the flood when the flood laid down the sediment layers. Even if you don't agree with it, that's entirely factual. Yeah, he's absolutely true. Congratulations. That makes a lot of sense.
Right. Thank you.
All right. So let me ask you a question. How long ago did dinosaurs live?
That live like Jurassic era, so 160 million maybe.
Sure. Are you familiar with Mary Schweitzer's experiments?
Of course.
Yeah. What did she find?
What'd she find?
Yep.
A whole bunch of fake stuff, I'd be willing to bet.
That's not. You said you're familiar with it. What did she find?
Now, I mean, to be fair, you weren't familiar with the auto experiment, were you?
Yeah, I was honest and said I wasn't familiar with it. What, right? And then you laughed at me. And then when I asked you about it,
I'm being honest, and I'm saying I'm not familiar with this.
No, you're not. You're not being honest. You just lied. Get off my stage, you liar. Come on, man. I had a whole conversation with you and didn't have any problems. And now for some reason you want to lie. Now I can't trust you going forward in these conversations. When you ask me about an experiment and I say, no, man, I don't know about it. I have no clue what you're talking about. And you condescendingly laugh at me because I don't know about the experiment. Okay, I'll listen to you. The moment I ask you about an experiment, you lie about it. I cannot trust you moving forward, to be honest, with any information that you're going to say. So we cannot have a productive conversation. You're a pathetic liar. I'm very honest in the fact that I don't know about something, and you're a pathetic liar. It's sad. This is what evolutionists do, guys. You cannot have a conversation with one because they will bring in lies in an effort to support their religious viewpoint. If I don't know something, I'll say I don't know. If something is out there that don't fit my viewpoint, I will say I don't understand it. It don't fit my viewpoint. Here's what the evidence says. Don't fit my viewpoint, but here's what it is. I'm not going to lie about it. That's totally dishonest. Crazy. Cricket, you back yet? All right, Cricket.
Is the Mary Schweitzer, the Mary Schweitzer findings, was that the soft tissue in the dinosaur bones?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
That can't hold up over 65 million years?
100%.
Yep. Okay. I am familiar with that.
Yeah. 100%.
So are we going to talk about the auto experiment more?
What about it?
I just think that was an interesting claim brought up by Trevor. It's too bad he
didn't make a claim. There wasn't a claim. He just laughed at me for not knowing what it was and then stated that you were right about everything. They didn't tell me anything.
It was basically a study conducting all the water in the world, and it tried to roughly estimate how much, and it found that there was insufficient water to cover mountains, and there was basically a lack of evidence for a geological worldwide sediment to be brought up.
Right. So again, that's why I asked you that clarifying question earlier, if you believed it, that Mount Everest. I would agree with you. There's not enough water on the earth right now to cover Mount Everest, clearly. That's not what the Bible teaches. So really, all you got to do in an effort to try to disprove the Bible is kind of read it first, because at the end of Psalms, this is what the Bible says. This is the flood model. The beginning of Genesis, it says that there was a layer of water on the dry land was formed on a layer of water. You can say I don't believe it, but you can't say the Bible doesn't teach it, because it clearly does. So you had land and you had water. And then it says it rained for 40 days and for 40 nights, but the majority of the flood come from the fountains of the deep breaking open. We know this because it only rained for 40 days and for 40 nights, but the water continued to rise for over 150 days. That means the water come from the fountains of the deep. The water come out from underneath the crust, on top of the crust. In the book of Psalms, Daniel says that as the waters assuaged, meaning as the waters went off to the continents, they went to the low spots. The continents became heavy because now you got the water from underneath it on top of it. And now you don't have any support structure under it, so the continent would break. When the continents break, the mountains arise and the valleys sink down. This is exactly what David said in the book of Psalms. He says, as the waters left the continents, he says the mountains arose and the valley sank down. Thank you for the stickers, guys. So the Mount Everest wasn't there. So it doesn't coincide for you to say that we've done this study. I could have told you that. You didn't need to study for that. There's not enough water on the planet to go over Mount Everest. I agree. Mount Everest wasn't there until after the flood. Now, the flood model can make some predictions, and I would love if you don't believe me, and I can pull up the picture on Google here, I'll show you. The prediction is if the waters went to the low spots, broke the continents, and the mountains arose and the valley sank down, then the mountains will follow the coastlines, meaning that the water broke, and you got the mountains, and then you got the coastlines. So the mountains will follow the coastlines. And I think it's better than 99%, if I'm not mistaken. You can just Google a map of the Earth's mountain ranges, and I think it's all of them, but really one, possibly two mountain ranges that don't follow the coastline. Literally, all the other ones follow the coastline. meaning that this fits the flood model perfectly.
Doesn't that also fit the continental drift model, though?
No. I mean, well, the mountains don't
Well,
know.
it fits with seafloor spreading subduction zones and.
Well, the problem that I have with the continents, first, I don't know if you're talking about Pangea. It could have. I don't know. I have no clue. It does say in the book of Genesis, after the Tower of Babel, it says in the day of, I think it's Peleg, could be wrong about the name. It says the earth was divided in his days, but that's all it says. So we don't get any additional information off of that. But as far as the continents used to be connected, that's literally people only looking at the shapes and saying that they used to be connected because they look like they connect. They don't tell you that they have to shrink Africa by like 40% or something crazy, because Africa is huge and it does not fit nice and neat up against South America. That's factually inaccurate. They actually have to shrink Africa in an effort to make it fit.
Yeah, it's been millions of years. Under the continental drift model, you're not just having these things happen sequentially over like 2,000 years. They happen over millions of years. Erosion, other subduction zones.
Then they shouldn't look.
Area like rings, like the Ring of Fire, which has huge amounts of seafloor spreading activity. Like it's not obvious. It's obviously not going to fit nicely, and the model doesn't say that they're going to fit perfectly. It says that you look at the evidence on both coastlines,
but Kay,
and you're going to see that there is evidence that they were once connected. There's many other evidence than just looking at the shapes. You can look at the fossils. You can look at the fossils of plant species, animal species. They are the exact same on both of the continents, coasts, and
I wouldn't argue against it. The Bible doesn't say yay or nay, so I really wouldn't argue it against it. But I would say that the mountain ranges don't fit that. And yes, the whole reason they come up with that is literally because they look like they fit together. That is the truth. Now there might be some fossils that
might have been the original reason why they wanted it.
Okay, but I wouldn't
some type of theory.
I wouldn't argue against it though, Clay. That's my point. I'm not arguing against it.
Yeah, I mean, I would ask: is there any evidence that there was water under the crust?
Yeah, there still is. There's more than, I think it's two oceans or another ocean still under the crust of the earth.
Well, like, is it? I'm not too big on geology.
Yeah, I live in mountains here in North Carolina, so I don't have city water because I'm in the mountains. They can't pump the water up, so I have to drill for it. Like it's called a well, right?
Well, that's like groundwater, but I'm talking about under the crust.
I promise you, when I go out here and drill, I drill under the crust of the earth to get that water, brother.
Well, no, you're drilling into the crust, not under. That's into the crust.
That's the biggest claim right there for people against fracking is the water that's way down there pushes up.
It's 6 for 1, half a dozen.
Hundreds of feet down.
Again, but
Craig. I know, but you're making it. It says the water was found. If I don't clearly think that water was up against lava, right? Because that's what's the next layer is like your molten rock. Clearly, water wasn't there, or you'd have a pressure problem that would blow the continents apart, right? So clearly, that's not what the Bible. Yeah, that's not what it teaches. So
okay, so it's saying that it was like in the crust.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you
not
could
necessarily.
You probably could have had a layer of rock, water, and then rock. It just says that he found the dry land upon the waters. It doesn't say that there wasn't. We have to use our imagination, but clearly it wasn't up against lava, because then you'd have a pressure problem and it would go kaboom.
Okay, I agree with that, but I don't really have anything else to say about this topic. I'm not too educated on geology, so.
Sure, I got you, brother. Anything else you'd like to talk about on any one of the other topics?
Well, I guess what would constitute for you evolution being true?
Great question. Genetic information gain. So I believe in micro. I think that's just changes within the same kind. But for macro evolution to be true, I'd have to see genetic information gain. Genetic, because it's got to be able to be passed on to its generations.
So what is that? So what does that mean?
I'm literally in the middle of defining it for you.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. So genetic information gain. Genetic, because it's got to be passed on to the generations. Information as far as new structures, new code, new function, new DNA, and then obviously gain from when it wasn't there before. So genetic information gain. And I think you and I would agree, Cray, that if we had a universal common ancestor and we all went from a single-celled organism to a fully functional human given billions of years, then genetic information gain happened quadrillions of times.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so when you say genetic information gain,
has to be testable and observable, not inferred. I'm sorry, I forgot that point.
But I mean, so you agree mutations exist, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so when you say genetic information gain, are you saying like de novo gene comes into play? Are you saying that just a single, like let's say like an SMP, like a single nucleotide polymorphism?
Yeah, not something not something that exists to do that, but a completely new information. Right, mutation, mutating existing.
Okay, so are you familiar with the central dogma model?
I don't think so. What is that?
Okay, so the central dogma model is essentially just the way that DNA gets expressed within your body, right? It goes from the nucleus to a ribosome to functional protein, right? And so when you say new, information, or when you just say the genetic part, that's only half of the real, process. You could have new protein be made from a single nucleotide change, right? And so when you say a new structure, I'm assuming you're thinking something like a new organelle or a new macro structure, but that's not what biology teaches, and that's not.
But it is
genetic.
But it is, yeah. That's exactly what. This is what I get all the time. I just had a conversation with the guy that made the same claim, and then he left because you say that it's not what it teaches, but then you say we all have a universal common ancestor from a single cell organism, so it has to teach that, brother. It has to. There's no way.
So it does, but it doesn't teach that there's going to be one giant mutation.
That's not my claim. I never claimed that.
What I'm assuming you're saying is that there, and even then we do have evidence for albeit you're not going to agree with the idea of homeodomain duplications or promoter enhancer interactions with different types of Hox genes, Hox gene expression, but because you're just going to say, oh, the gene is already there or whatever, but it's like
that's not new information by definition.
When a new gene arises, right? It doesn't just have to be able to make like a new arm or a new limb. All it means is that it makes a new protein, right? A protein that did not exist before that has some type of different function than the protein that existed prior.
That's not true, brother.
Right?
You can't get DNA from protein.
So no, you can't get DNA from protein. That's the central dogma model. It's one way, right? So
that's my point. So
there's a little nuance there, but
I know, but
it's one way. It's DNA
hold on, brother. Hold on, wait a
protein.
minute. DNA is a building block. So I understand that you said you wouldn't have to have a new structure like a new arm or something, if I'm not mistaken. It would just have to have a new protein. That's not true. You would have to have new DNA to create that new structure. And
but
we don't get that from protein.
So a new DNA. So insertion mutations they exist and we observe them.
Sure. Which ones are you talking about?
So an insertion mutation is a new nucleotide that was not in the genetic code prior that spot.
You got it
now there, and now the expression of this protein is different. This is exactly how sickle cell anemia happens, right? One single nucleotide change causes an entirely new type of red blood cell to exist that cannot function.
I got you. Do you have an example of that happening where it's not detrimental?
I would say, let me think. There's an obvious example that I have, but I'm going to think of a few more just in case, where it's not detrimental.
You just mentioned sickle cell anemia. That's pretty detrimental, right?
Well, sickle cell anemia is detrimental when it's homozygous. When it's heterozygous, it's very advantageous. So it literally stops the spread of malaria. So.
Yeah, it has that benefit in one thing. It's just like saying, it'd be also like saying, because I caught sickle cell anemia that I can't get malaria. That's just like saying, hey, I've evolved to not use my shoes. I don't have to buy. Hold on, brother. Let me get the thing, okay?
Okay, sorry.
All right, that'd be like me saying, hey, I've evolved to not have to worry about buying shoes because both my legs were cut off. It's an overall detriment.
The right analogy, because it's a heterozygous advantage when you're heterozygous for the trait, you don't have sickle cell anemia, but you have the ability to defend against malaria.
Sure, but you're the first person that I've
recessive for the trait, then you have sickle cell anemia and you can defend against malaria. If you don't have it, then you just can't do it.
And you're the only person that I've ever heard argue. I've heard the argument that you can have a beneficial part in things, but you're the only person that I've ever heard that's arguing that sickle cell anemia is beneficial. Not partial, but beneficial.
The gene, right? So the alleles that give you sickle cell anemia, when you only have one allele, when there's only one, you can defend against malaria and you don't have sickle cell anemia. When you have both alleles, you get sickle cell anemia. It's called the heterozygous advantage. It means those who are heterozygous with the trait have an advantage over those who are
right. And again,
homozygous for either.
You're the only person again that I've ever heard. You're free to argument if you want to, but like I said, I've lost both my arms, so now I'm
against it.
Yeah, I lost both my arms, so now I'm immune to handcuffs. It's beneficial in that very select fact, but I don't think having sickle cell is.
But the select fact is what allows you to survive in the environment.
Right, but it does it through a degradation most of the time, or it does it through a detriment. Like I said, even though
it doesn't.
It does. It does.
So let me show you a Punnett square real quick.
Okay.
Let me show you a Punnett square. So you can. We're going to go back to some basic Mendelian genetics here. So essentially, as you can see, when you have two people, right? Let's say this is a not. I need two homozygous. Where's the two homozygous? Anyways, if you have two homozygous traits, two people, one homozygous that doesn't have sickle cell anemia, one homozygous that has sickle cell anemia, and they breed, you're going to get 50% of those offspring are now immune to malaria and do not have sickle cell anemia. Only 1/4 of the offspring might have sickle cell anemia, and 1/4 of the offspring might not have sickle cell anemia and might not be able to defend against malaria. And so when you have, that's 50% of the offspring. So there's a much larger chance that the offspring will come out being able to defend against malaria, and they will be able to, they will also be able to, they won't have sickle cell anemia. And then if you have two people, again, this is two heterozygous individuals, so now two people who don't have sickle cell anemia and who can defend against malaria breed, you also get, again, 50% of the offspring can also do that. So it actually makes sense because of the way that genetics, because of the way that genetics works. When you have these people breeding, the more of the offspring can defend against malaria, that is going to persist across the population. That's why sickle cell anemia exists. That's why the heterozygous advantage exists, because of Mendelian genetics.
I have to look into it a little bit more. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not that educated in it, but I have heard a little bit of it. And you're the first person that's ever claiming that this is that it's entirely beneficial.
It's not entirely beneficial. I'm not saying that.
Well,
I'm saying that when you have sickle cell, that the trait is persisting because when people breed, when they copulate and when they breed, more of the population is going to have the immunity to malaria without having sickle cell anemia. Some of the population will have sickle cell anemia, some of the population will not have sickle cell anemia, and they won't be able to defend against malaria. So in that case, where is the selection going? The selection is going towards the individuals who can defend against malaria and who don't have sickle cell anemia. Thus, the trait is going to persist because of the way that Mendelian genetics works.
You have
and the fact that because you have a 50% chance that your offspring are going to have the heterozygous allele for sickle cell anemia. And that doesn't give them sickle cell anemia. It just means that they can defend against malaria.
They can defend against it, or because I'll be honest with you, man, I'm not, like I said, I am having to Google. I don't think Google is your, the go-to. Granted, if you got a source that you'd like to send me, but it says everywhere I'm looking at it says no, sickle cell anemia does not make you immune from malaria. Granted, I'm just typing in Google, so if you have a source that I can look at, but I'll go to that.
Maybe I am confused. I might be confused. I might be confused as well. So I'm not going to say that I'm totally right here either.
Okay.
This is why we have these conversations, because
Yeah.
I might be confused as well.
Yeah, fair enough. Because I have heard that in one benefit, I think you're right about something about it being beneficial in the fact that it can help you in one specific matter. But again, it's not a benefit in overall. Like I said, I use the example of me not being able to if I lost my arms, I'm immune to handcuffs.
So it says having the sickle cell trait, one gene copy, offers partial protection against severe malaria. It makes it harder for the parasite to grow and increases the survival of the host. However, the sickle cell anemia, 2 gene copies, does not provide the protection and increased risk.
Right. So it would be. So that's my point. That's my exact point. Thank you for being honest with that. My point is that yeah, it may be helpful in this very select situation, but overall, it's not beneficial. Overall, it's not.
No. I think
There's a lot of complications with it, dude.
Hang on. I'm gonna read it one more time. Okay.
Okay.
Having the sickle cell trait,
Yep.
1 gene copy, offers protection against severe malaria. It makes it harder for the parasite to grow and increases survival of the host. However, having sickle cell anemia, the 2 gene copy, does not provide this protection. The gene is the same. The gene that causes sickle cell anemia also provides protection against malaria.
What are the percentages?
How do you get?
Again, it's 50%. Well, based on Mendelian genetics.
Do you
it's
have
50%.
to catch sickle cell in an effort to get the single trait?
You don't have to have sickle cell anemia. No, you can.
How do you get
have just one trait?
How can you get
one allele.
how can you get the trait without catching the sickle cell?
So the way that mutations in these sort of larger genes happen is, again, so usually the way it happens
I got it,
is
brother.
a duplication in the gene itself, right?
Yeah.
So the duplication happens, and then because of the way that chromosomes are aligned, there are these things called they're called topological associated binding domains, which just means that essentially there are specific proteins that allow for DNA to loop over itself that can then bring an enhancer or a promoter that is or usually it's an enhancer that's way downstream or way upstream of the actual gene. It can loop it around itself and then allow for the promoter enhancer interactions so that the gene can get expressed. However, because the gene got duplicated, that means that one of the genes is now not in the correct place for the promoter enhancer interactions to happen. That means that gene cannot be expressed. And so that gene is free to essentially accumulate mutations over time without it causing any detriment to the host or the person that has
That's the
trait.
That's the problem I got with you.
It doesn't get expressed. Now, when this happens, essentially, the same thing can happen to the promoter, and this is usually what happens: is that the promoter will then get duplicated again, and then you can actually express both genes, the one that has now accumulated different mutations and creates entirely new protein from the original gene that it had or that it came from. And so this is essentially what happens: is that now you have the one gene, so that's one trait because everybody has one allele for every single gene that they have, or technically they have 2, but one that you will give on to your offspring. And so that one allele essentially is now going to get mutated, accumulates those mutations and can now change. This is very well studied. This is a very accepted model in how new de novo genes can arise within with chromosomes, essentially.
Yeah.
So
here's my problem with it. No disrespect to you. I think you brought it up. If you got something that you would like for me to respond to, like you want to send me a paper or something, I think we're kind of doing right now is just a bunch of no Q. I can't let you in, man. You're a troll. I don't let trolls in. Okay. So I don't let trolls in, especially if I know that they're known trolls. So anyway, if you got something you would like for me to respond to, but it wasn't exactly what we thought it was, I don't see anywhere that I'm looking at that is beneficial. So if you got like a paper that you want to send me that I can look into and that we can have a more educated conversation on it, then I'm willing to do that. Okay.
I mean, the sickle cell trait, the gene that causes sickle cell anemia, it's pretty well studied.
I know, but then you were kind of wrong about it too, and then admitted that. So if it's pretty well studied, then send me.
I wasn't wrong. I can redo it again.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're doing the same thing again. No disrespect, brother. I do appreciate the conversation, but we're kind of going in circles now, right? So I would prefer just to, if you got something that you can send me. Hello.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's valid. We can move on from this.
I'll get it. Okay.
In this one. So, okay, so let's ignore the sickle cell. And let's go back to talking about essentially quote new gene. These new genetic information.
Okay.
And so again, what it means in a biological sense is when you get down to the cellular level, is that you have new protein. That's all that a new gene does, is it makes new protein. The new gene is not going to magically make a new arm, a new leg. That involves a culmination of many, many genes across many complex interactions between many different things.
Hold on,
that
brother.
aren't just genes, right?
I know, but hold on. Hold on. Wait a second, because I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I'm getting kind of confused because you said it doesn't involve genes, and then it said it involves many genes. So does it do it or not?
So a new whole-scale trait involves many genes, usually because most traits are polygenic, which just means that multiple genes are involved in the pathway that makes the trait.
That's not
but
true.
For individual genes, so like for example, if you have a mutation,
it's not true, brother. You can hold on just a second. That's not true though. You can get new traits from degraded genes. You can actually lose information and still get a new trait.
Yeah, that's true as well.
Okay, yeah. So
like if you have a deletion mutation, you can get a dysfunctional protein that doesn't work. That's true as well.
Well, it can also
it
be
can work and it can have a new function.
Yeah,
That's
it can be beneficial in some ways, just like we already mentioned before. But overall, it's a detriment, just like we see in the longest running evolutionary experiment by Linsky, that the bacteria started eating citrate in an oxygenated environment, but it did it through degradation, meaning that it's losing information.
Well, I don't think it did it through. I'm pretty sure in that experiment there were two trans. So essentially, it moved the promoters over, and then there was the duplication of the actual trait itself that allowed for the new.
Yeah, the mechanism that changes your transfer proteins in glucose and oxygen, that quote unquote devolved. It can do it only now. It only goes to one shape, which allows glucose and citrate in oxygenated and unoxygenated environment. But that transfer protein, quote unquote, only allows one way now.
Again, it's all still micro. It's none of it is macro. None of it is
it's still micro,
completely observable by the human eye. We're devolving into this conversation and going into the micro level as opposed to actual evolution as science says it. So none of us here are arguing against microevolution. Nobody's saying that the genes don't change, that the environment doesn't change things. So I think this is it's getting a little bit off topic because it's also going to genetics and not quite evolution.
There's my man Azrael. Let me ask you a question, bro, since you're the biologist in here. You may not know about it.
I've talked to Azrael before.
Are you familiar with sickle cell anemia being beneficial in humans?
Sickle cell trait.
If you have sickle cell trait, it's a adaptation to malaria falciparum in Africa. So people of African descent will have that trait. However, that is a receipt, please. That is a genetic adaptation, receipt, please. But they're still human beings. They're not something changing into something else. And everyone tries to nitpick these little small changes and pretend like it's a new species of human coming. And I guarantee you, everyone who has sickle cell trait can have babies with people who don't have sickle cell trait, which means it's not a new species. It's the same species, human. So you talk about genetic adaptations.
But I was just going off of his definition of evolution.
But I'm just trying to say you can't equivalent that to evolution because we are not talking about human
Israel. Like if we want to have a discussion about this, that's fine. But I was going off of his definition of what.
Okay, I got you.
He would need for evolution to be true.
Yeah, and it still doesn't meet.
Example: there's these people in the Pacific Ocean. They got a gene that allows them to use their spleen is bigger than it normally should be, and it stores more blood, so they can hold their blood longer. Now,
Breath.
if we bring one of those lovely people
Breath.
from there to over here to America, and that young man who can die for extra 20 minutes or something, he meets a nice, beautiful woman here, and they have a baby together. Is that baby a new species, or is that baby a human being?
It's obviously still a human.
I got.
Okay, and when they have that baby, provided everything is normal with the baby, can that baby have baby with another person?
Yeah, I'm not arguing about.
Okay,
that's
so
not what I'm arguing.
Hold on,
If
hold
you
on,
want me to
guys.
Give you examples of speciation.
Guys.
If you want me to give you examples of like single generational speciation, then I can do that as well.
I got you guys. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I did ask him, because if you talk to him before, that's fine. It still doesn't meet the definition. I just wanted him to weigh in on that because he is the biologist. So that's why I asked him to weigh in on that. I don't care to relitigate that, right? So, but Craig, I will get to you, Crazy Wolf. I promise you.
In no time.
I got you. But I have talked to you for a moment now, so I don't want to be rude or inconsiderate. Hold on, Crazy Wolf. You got a lot of background noise, brother. You got to get that fixed. Okay. So the reason why I do this is because, especially people that I have good conversations with, one, I want to show people that what the Bible says is true. So put your faith in God clearly. And number two, I want to get those individuals who might not be saved. I want to show them Jesus. I want to tell them about Christ and get them saved. So before I move on, brother, I'd like to ask you, do you know Jesus?
Me, I'm not a Christian. I don't really align with a singular religion, but I wouldn't say that I'm against the idea of there being a God or anything.
I got you. Well, I'm not going to force it on you or anything like that, but I would like to share him with you. So if you ever want to have a conversation about it, I've had a good conversation with you. You've been very respectful. Even though we disagree, I think you're very intelligent. So if you'd like to have that conversation later about him, I'd love to have it with you.
I appreciate it. It's not really
what
I'm wanting to talk about right now.
I understand.
At some point in the future, maybe, but
Yep.
just at this point, probably not.
I got you, man. Well, if you ever do, hit me up. You're free to come back in next time. But I just don't want to spend all of the time on one person. We've had a great conversation, but I do want to move on to the next guest. Okay.
Sure, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Have a great day, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you, brother. All right. Let's see who was in here next. I don't want to skip anybody. Let's go with Crazy. I think you said something about evolution. You could prove it really fast. Did I hear it right? I can't. You're muted up, brother. I can't see whole. Crazy Wolf. Crazy Wolf. And while I'm waiting for him, how'd your debate go, Azrael?
There you go. Can you
there
hear
he
me
is.
now?
I can hear you now, brother. What's up?
So here's the thing I've got to say. They say that evolution started, it was with apes, right? That we evolved from apes,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Well, they say
Okay.
it started way earlier than that, but
Well, so here's my thing. If that's true and we evolved, well, supposedly, it started as ape and then we evolved as Neanderthals and so on. So if that's true, then why did it stop? Why did it stop?
Well,
how come the evolution, there's no more apes or gorillas or whatever you want to call them? How come there's still not more turning into humans?
well, they would just argue that they didn't have the same pressures, Crazy Wolf. But I mean, I agree with you. Evolutionary pressure should have changed them to something. There should be some kind of evolutionary pressure. If some of them haven't evolved for millions of years, then that showed that they didn't need to evolve. So what did these other ones face that they had to evolve? But it's not a very sound argument because we still have wolves and dogs, right? Even though it's artificial selection, it's not the same. So, but yeah, overall, I agree with you. Azrael, man, how did your debate go, brother?
It went fine. It went fine. There's a video circulating around after my debate where some guy literally he clipped some of my debates and he meshed them together using AI, and then he like some of the words he just completely blocked the words out. But he never debated me. The guy who did it is some guy named Bubbles or something, and he just didn't. He never debated me. He's never debated me once. But the other person I was debating, he clipped our debate words together and made some video. And in his own video, it's showing that he's lying. He was claiming evolution was real and abiogenesis was real. And then in his video, you see that it says they made amino acids, not proteins, and they made nucleotides, not RNAs. But he's claiming that they are in the video. So that's how my video went. Someone clipped my video together and lied about it.
You gonna do a response on that?
Oh, I did. I put it on my page already. It's like I just put it up there like a day or two ago. Because I saw the video late, so I just a day or two ago did a video response. It just shows AI overview, and it shows articles explaining that no, life doesn't come from non-life. No, we've never made RNA and protein straight from the elements. We made monomers, which is nucleotides and amino acids. And amino acids are not special because they're nothing but a carbon attached to an amine group, a hydrogen, an R group, and a acid. That's it. That's all it is. It doesn't mean it's becoming alive. And they'll say, well, it's organic molecules. That's what he kept saying in the video. See, a lot of atheists love to scream about organic molecules. See, because they never took organic chemistry. Organic chemistry just means the chemistry of carbon. It doesn't mean the chemistry of life. Because just because something has carbon in it doesn't make it alive. So they say organic chemistry because they've never taken it. All organic chemistry means is it has carbon in it. Anyway.
Yeah.
But these are non-scientists arguing against a scientist, so it's not really a fair debate anyway, because they really don't have the means to understand science. They just don't.
Yeah.
I'm not being mean. I'm not being I just don't understand it.
Yeah. So I mean, the reason why you come in a little bit at the end of that conversation, but the reason why I had you respond to it is somebody in the comments was even saying I was getting cooked, and then here's a young biologist scientist guy who come in and said basically what I said. Obviously a little bit different in a different way, but he basically said exactly what I said. So I don't know how I got cooked if he said pretty much what I said, but yeah, he very intelligent guy. Call me Guns. What's up, man?
Yeah, not a whole lot. Just enjoying the debate back and forth. That last one, I think it just kind of deviated too far. Got into a lot of micro, which none of us disagreed with.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that was my point from the beginning. Yeah.
Right. Now I was just gonna mention I've done a lot of study on silica since we do come from the dirt, and science is now exploring that greatly, creating soft tissues and bone structure to replace bones and things like that in the human body and soft tissues using silica. So it's a good point. I don't have any of it sitting in front of me because I'm on my phone and I can't kick back and forth. I haven't figured that one out with my new Samsung. But yeah, it's just that. And then I follow the thought that the infinite God who exists out of time and space obviously used materials that he had already created to create the earth. So the timeline could be more than just 10,000 years, but I don't know about millions, but used the materials that he had available to create the earth. But a God created a full human man, so couldn't he create a fully mature earth?
Yeah, absolutely. He created a fully mature earth. He didn't give Adam and Eve a bunch of seeds and say, plant these really quickly or you're going to starve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, everything was mature, and whatever it takes to create the earth, whatever timeline that may have taken us to do, obviously he could do in a rapid timeline if he had so chosen.
All right.
So,
who is Sean? You keep saying I get cooked. You haven't really explained why, but okay, it's your opinion. You're allowed to have it. Can host explain why microevolution isn't true? Yeah, man, I got a panel. Come on up, and I promise you I'll explain why macroevolution is not testable and observable. Why is it that we always, when we test and observe it, we see degradation? We never see information gained. That was my purpose of the whole conversation that I had with the young man that you said that I got cooked on. I believe in microevolution, not macro, right? And all we've shown so far and all we've demonstrated so far is microevolution, not macro. I need to see an example of macroevolution, and testable and observable, not inferred. And so far, all we've talked about is degradation or micro. That's all we've brought to the table so far. No, it's not. It's not information gain, right? There's no information in micro. It's existing information. It's information that already exists, or an organism doing something that it was already supposed to do. Like, for example, in horizontal gene transfer, I believe in horizontal gene transfer. I think that's a real thing. That's what it's supposed to do. That's what it's always done. We've never seen it not do that. So you can't say that's part of evolution. That's doing what it's supposed to do. I know you ask about macro. It's not true. You have to give me an example of it. I'm telling you it's not true because we don't see information gain. But anyway, I'm done talking to you in the comments. I have a free places on my panel right here. So if you'd like to come up, but I'm not going to address you in the comments anymore. Let me close this out, Bob. What's up, Val? You all right? Oh, and he left. What's going on here? My goodness.
Those who preach evolution, because it is preaching, it takes a lot of faith to believe evolution, always come back to the same thing: bacteria turning into different bacteria, but it's still a single-celled organism. No single cell has ever produced multiple cellular beings like human beings or animals. Single cell only begats single cell.
Yeah.
No, I've never seen. Oh, we've never witnessed a bacteria changing from E. coli into Klebsiella pneumoniae or a different species. We've seen adaptation, but we've never seen.
Yes.
Yeah, we've never seen a species turn into another species in bacteria. We've never seen that.
Right. But that's how they always point to it: is that bacteria did something amazing and it turned into another single cell, or adapted and created another single cell organism. Nothing.
They're misunderstanding what they're doing, sir. They're misunderstanding. It's called competence. So competence is when you pick up DNA from your environment and you incorporate it to use it for something. So bacteria cells, some of them are literally always competent. They're always ready to pick up DNA from the environment and use that DNA to do something. But eukaryotic cells can be made competent, but they're not normally competent where they can pick up DNA from the environment. But they have to be made artificially competent by scientific processes. In nature, eukaryotic cells never become competent. The only cells that do that are bacteria, and it's only to pick up plasmids. Plasmids are not a part of their core chromosome, which means the species of bacteria would never change. It's not a new species. It's just E. coli 1. E. coli 2, E. coli 00157. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's still in
right.
the
Oh yeah, I'm following. I really like.
Yeah, it's not a new species, and they don't know that because they don't know science.
Are you when you say it?
Like what you're laying down, dude. You got the follow. I'm definitely gonna look into you. I really appreciate your knowledge and your, I guess, eloquence when you speak, breaking it down really easy for people to understand.
When you said they picked up DNA, you talking about the sperm? That's like the.
No, sir. I'm talking about the plasmid. So
Okay.
bacteria do this weird thing, right?
No,
some of them can put a little too.
No, when you said it picks up DNA in the thing, I thought you were going with the fish becoming immune to what was it, or the what is it, the antifreeze in their blood, and how they say that in the lab experiment you can get the sperm to pick up an outside DNA source, but it's only ever happened in a lab. It's never happened in nature.
Oh yeah. That's not normal. So the issue is when you're talking about a bacteria, their plasmids is called auxiliary DNA. It's not part of their core. It's not part of their core chromosome. It has nothing to do with their actual genome they use to replicate themselves. It's nothing but antibiotic resistance. Yeah. That's the only thing that's carried on plasmids. Antibiotic resistance. Or make something, to make some little product or something. So you can do that at the multiple. I forgot the name of the complex, but there's a little section where you can put little genes in if you so want to do any type of. They call it directed evolution. In other words, you're purposely putting genes from something else in the plasmid, not in the core chromosome of the bacteria, because bacteria have a system that destroys anything you add to the chromosome. So bacteria will never evolve into another species because they actually actively prevent themselves from being, a new gene being inserted into their core chromosome. That's why scientists always use the plasmids. But no, we have never observed any type of picking up DNA from the environment, and it still wouldn't prove abiogenesis or anything like that. So the atheists still have to prove that, because how would you pick up DNA from an environment when it didn't exist before?
Yeah, and even the ones where they can artificially get it to take on another DNA, you see these like in the rabbit experiments, guys. When you see the rabbits, like they make glowing rabbits because they take portions of the jellyfish that glow in the dark, and then they put it inside of a rabbit. It always degrades out of the organism, I think, past generation 3, if I'm not mistaken. So that still wouldn't count as evolution, even if we could quote unquote artificially do it, because it eventually, like my man said, it gets taken out of the animal system. It ends up degrading it out.
Yeah, it's not a required gene. So I mean, it's not supposed to be there in the first place. So I mean, that's a lot of people, like I said, they don't really understand science. And I don't, as someone told me in another live, I don't even think atheists actually care about science. They just use it to try to beat Christians over the head with it. And the moment it's not useful, they throw it away. They don't really care about it.
Yeah.
I think Christians care because Christians, they're seeing, hey, this proves that my Bible is correct. God is real. God loves us. God made us,
Amen.
And then science is proving that. And a physicist said something I think will touch your heart if you haven't heard it before. I may have already told you it. But a physicist said that the first drop of science will make you an atheist. But at the bottom of the glass, Yahweh is waiting for you.
That's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Benji, what's up, man?
Yeah, hey guys, I just stumbled across this stream. Very interesting stuff.
Thank you.
I'm a believer. I have a biomedical engineering degree, so I guess I'm a scientist of sorts, but I do believe in evolution. And I do not believe that the world is like 6,000 to 12,000 years old. And I don't believe that there was a global flood.
So what? So I'm sorry, you said you are a Christian?
Yeah, I am.
So what do you believe about it? What do you believe about the Bible then?
Well, I believe I believe the creation accounts of Genesis are basically parables. That's what I believe.
So I would say it like this, and this is my honest opinion. I'm no disrespect. I hope you don't take it that way, because I really don't mean it that way at all. It's not a salvation issue. People can believe in evolution and still be saved. It's not a salvation issue, but it is to me a consistency issue. Why do you believe the Jesus part's true, but the beginning part that Jesus even referenced himself, why do you believe that part's not true?
So my question to you guys was going to be this, and I really appreciate what specifically some of the things that, is it Azrael?
Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate some of the things that you're saying. I don't claim to be, a great scientific expert. However, I have been exposed to it enough. And I guess my basic premise, and my question to you guys is this. I grew up in the Christian church. My dad was a minister, as a matter of fact, and I was largely sheltered from science, particularly in the Christian school I went to and at home. I'm a little older than you guys. Maybe things are different now, but back in the 90s, 80s and 90s, particularly evangelical Christianity, they did not want kids learning about science, period. And I was one of the kids. And I took cellular and molecular biology and a bunch of other coursework through my education and read a lot of scientific literature. And, basically the scientific consensus that we have now in terms of evolution, I think there are a lot of things that are debatable, of course, but evolution, the age of the earth, geology, the age of the universe, and probably physics and a bunch of other sciences are the results of literally hundreds of thousands of scientists publishing peer-reviewed journals over the last 100 years. That's why we have a consensus of what we do. And I don't believe that there's some kind of demonic conspiracy going on here to hide the truth or to make the Bible look bad.
Well, sure. Let's
There's
go.
just a whole bunch of people,
Benjamin, I
over
do.
the last 100 years
Benji,
in particular.
Benji,
that
I'm
have
sorry.
Really dedicated
Benji,
time and science.
Benji,
So
Benji.
Let me just ask this question.
Can we just do it one at a time, though? Because we're kind of we're doing overbroading statements. So I really want to respond to some of those.
Hold on. One question, though.
Okay.
One question.
Okay.
So what's being proposed here on this stream goes against a lot of the scientific consensus that's out there, and that's a fact. Why not publish your findings in a series of peer-reviewed articles that could be peer-reviewed in scientific literature? I've done that.
We need to do that.
Sure.
We need to do that. Let me tell you why.
So,
Why not?
hold,
Why
hold,
not do that?
I got it.
Let me answer, Benji. Let me answer. We don't need to do that for one simple reason. There's plenty of papers and plenty of already peer-reviewed papers where they ask the plain question: have we made life from non-life? Answer is no. Have we ever observed a protein being made that literally formed itself from the elements? That would be a biogenic protein world. We've never observed it. Have we seen an RNA molecule propagate itself from the elements, directly from the elements? It was nothing but elements in the flask, and then it came together and made RNA. If we use all the Earth environment, everything we expect to find in ancient Earth, all we've ever gotten is monomers. We only get nucleotides, and we only for the RNA world, and we only get amino acids. We never get assembled amino acids. We've never gotten even a single 100-unit amino acid, which is the smallest proteins you can get. We don't get that. And here's the problem. And I'm gonna ask you something. You said you were biomedical. You said you were a scientist. What would be wrong with an RNA molecule that formed itself in the primordial ooze? And what would be wrong with a protein molecule that formed by itself in the primordial ooze? Can you please tell me what would be wrong with those two things?
See, here's the problem, my friend. You're oversimplifying this. For me, as like a scientist. No, hold on. Just listen to me.
I'm asking you a simple question.
I know.
What would happen if the RNA molecule formed outside of a cell, and what would happen if the protein molecule formed outside of a cell? Please
Let me answer the question as a scientist and a believer. For me to coherently answer that question, I would need to spend weeks in the literature before I come back to an answer.
Simple answer is a protein. Hold on. First of all, what would happen is proteins when they form, when a messenger RNA is being transferred by kinesin along a microtubule to a ribosome to be translated to a protein. As that protein is forming, that protein is folded into its tertiary functional structure. A protein that formed outside of a cell would not be folded because it would have been an amalgamation of amino acids that came together of their own accord. Proteins have an active site. They have sites where they actually interact with the environment. So the protein has to be folded into its functional tertiary structure. And an unfolded protein would do nothing. The RNA molecule, RNA is destroyed by pHs above 6. RNA is destroyed by water. RNA is also destroyed by heat and ultraviolet light. All these things destroy RNA.
It breaks down over time.
Explain to me. Please explain to me how an RNA molecule,
the literature.
All right. So listen, this.
All right. You can Google it yourself right now.
I got you, Benji. So
Everyone knows that RNA is destroyed by RNA is
hold on, guys.
RNA is destroyed by hydrolysis.
Okay, so
I have a paper for you.
Hold on one second, Benji. I want to answer your question too. Okay, I don't know is a great answer. Everybody doesn't know everything. You saying you want to get into the literature before you answer that because you don't know, that's perfectly acceptable. Let me respond to a couple of things that you said there, because the problems that I have is that you put evolutionary science, you put that in the quote science field, and that's where I got a problem, because it's not, right? Science is testable and observable. And when you say things like, that's why I didn't want to interrupt you, but I wanted to slow you down for a minute, because you said, I don't believe that there's this overarching conspiracy or Satanist thing. I'm not saying that necessarily either, but to also deny that there is some in it clearly would be wrong. Do you think an evolutionary biologist field, the field of evolution, right, that claims all of these different things, do you think that I'm going to get a peer reviewed from them? Because if I got what I'm claiming would put them out of a job. So it's not like the other fields of science to where, you just go for the facts. That's not true. And I'll give you an example. Hold on, guys.
Can you send the paper to me?
Yes.
Is anybody gonna let me retort? Or
Yes, if you'll just let me do the same, I promise you I'll let you do it, because I sit here real patiently. I interrupted you just a little bit to slow you down because I let you have this huge monologue at front. So I will promise you I'll let you retort. Everybody else just chill for a second. So if you hadn't, I like to do this one at a time, but if you hadn't a monologue so much at the beginning, we could have been having a back and forth. But now I have a lot of things I got to respond to. Like you stating that there's no, do you know who Charles Lyell was? When you say that there's no conspiracy, Charles Lyell is one of the father of modern day geology. Do you know what geologists looked at? I don't want to say universal like everybody, but the majority of the geologists looked at those layers, those layers, the geologic column. He said, quote, in his book that he wanted to free the science of geology from Moses, meaning that when they looked at these layers before, they thought it was clear examples of Noah's flood. Again, it's called hydrologic sorting. We see this all over the planet. I can make a prediction right now that if you're on dry ground somewhere and not on bedrock, you can take a core sample and you're going to see evidence of that Noah's flood. You're just going to say that it took millions of years for this slow sediment to gain. And I would love to get into more of that with you. But Charles Lyell is literally quoting that he wants to get Moses out of science. So to not say that there's not a conspiracy, there is some.
I can show you the scary.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you.
And I've done a lot of research with abiogenetic research, and I did research called directed evolution. And I'll tell you something: when we were unable to make life from non-life, the PhD in charge made us write this, and I'm saying it directly, and you're going to see this when you look it up from all the other things. While we did not make life from non-life, this is an important step in the right direction. Every paper that we did, we got plenty of grants, but when we wrote the paper at the end to say that we never made life from non-life, while we did not create life from non-life, this is an important step in the right direction. Now that exact wording or a set of words is going to appear in every single paper you read about abiogenetic research. While we did not make life from non-life, it is an important step in the right direction. They make us write that. I land.
What is that? Hold on. What did that?
Hold on, wait a second. I want Benji to respond,
Statement, then.
and then I will go down. I will let his statement.
Getting back to my kind of my original.
Yeah.
Look, Israel, I cannot debate you on your field of expertise. You clearly know what you're talking about. I mean, I could get into finite element analysis and systems and engineering or something and throw a bunch of stats at you, but we can't have a coherent debate unless I can see some literature and really look at it. Believe you me, I've spent.
Okay, so
anyway,
you got some literature.
So somebody on here said that they'll send me a paper. So send it to me if you can on my messages or point me to it somehow, and I'll look at it. I'm not opposed to
Here's
into the information.
Here's my thing,
that's what I
Benji.
spent my career doing.
Okay, so you got some information that you are kind of familiar with, which is the Bible. So why do you choose to believe something that you don't know nothing about over something that you supposedly do know something about, which is the Bible? So why do you choose science over the big science over the Bible?
We are oversimplifying the discussion here. For instance, if you were to take, I guess where I was trying to originally go with this is that there is multiple sciences involved here. You know, like I've heard some cellular molecular biology, I believe. Then some
one at a time. I know you're going to go through a consensus.
If yes.
So let's just do one at a time, and I promise you, I will try to talk to you and show you why these are wrong.
I'm not trying to get into the particulars of each field of science here. I guess what I'm trying to say is
that's an argument from majority.
What you guys are proposing is true, and I hope it's true. You are on the level of Sir Isaac Newton. You are some of the greatest scientific minds of the last 500 years, and you should publish this information. Because if you can scientifically prove that the world is 12,000 years old or less, and that everything that I'm going to show you, Benji, we gotta have wait. All right, man. All right. You guys are a level of genius. I've never even.
I know. I appreciate you coming, but you can't. I can't. Hold on a second. I can't have a conversation with you. The reason why is because you're literally you're a scientist and you come up here and you make an argument from majority or authority, and you don't want to talk about the particulars. Well, then go to somebody else's page, man. No disrespect, but if you're not up here to talk about the particulars,
dishonest shit I've seen from your
post.
Yeah.
Super dishonest.
How was I dishonest?
He was talking about
When the Lord rose,
you decided
Silas
to
Mom
kick him
came.
because you
Silas Mom was-
disliked what he was saying.
I don't get how that's dishonest. I'm being very honest.
Because you don't like what he has to say.
It's not an argument. No, I let people up here all the
It's not an
time.
argument. He was just talking to you.
Wolf,
That's all.
Wolf.
That's all.
Yeah, and guess what? No disrespect. Have you heard my live before?
Oh, I've been listening to it. Trust me, there's a lot
More
of
than-
denial on your side.
Sure, that's
a
great.
lot of it.
Okay, so you've heard it more than today, right?
I've ran into you a few times.
Okay.
But I've not really stuck around too much.
All right,
but
fair enough.
I've
Then
seen
if you've heard me, then you know that I will let you up here. I want you up here to disagree with me, but we got to have a conversation. And no disrespect, if you want to come up here and tell me what you believe, but we don't want to get into the particulars, then you're just wasting my time. And when you just come up here and say that you should do a paper because all the scientists in the world disagree with you, I don't care. That's not an argument. Okay, but I don't care. So now I'm going to talk to you. Now I'm going to ask you, do you have any evidence? Because now this conversation is not going anywhere.
Yes, we have evidence. Let's see. So
What would you
the
like to bring?
fossils you find on the fossils you find on mountains themselves, right? We have evidence they were pushed up from the seabed.
I would agree with that.
Okay. So
Matter of
those
fact,
fossils-
it actually says
hold
it.
on.
It says it in the Bible.
Okay, sure. So there's not like fish fossils all around the whole world on land. There's just not.
Right.
Like you won't find them in your backyard. You won't find them in really in those areas. You just won't.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
And if you do, it'll be very minor. But you'll find them on mountains a lot. Your guys' theory of the Great Flood being real, if that was true,
Mhm.
you would find as much fossils as you do on a mountain everywhere across the globe.
We do find fossils all over the globe. What are you talking about?
No, but you'd find in the same volume. That's what I'm talking
No, you
about.
wouldn't. Why is that?
Yes, you would.
No, you
Why
wouldn't.
Would it be, why wouldn't you?
Because these animals don't live like that. Okay, I'll answer that. Because these animals don't live like they do all over the world, right? You might find a group over here because they lived on this side of the world, and you might find another group over here. But
water.
we do find evidence of water all over the world.
I know, but listen carefully what I'm saying.
I am. I just don't think
So
you know what
saying-
you're saying.
you're saying
Why don't
that
you
both-
try writing it down, reading it to yourself, and then
said it
saying it to
flooded.
yourself out loud?
You said it. You're just being dishonest. That's great.
Yeah, I know. I'm being
You
dishonest.
said the globe flooded. You said the whole globe flooded.
Yep.
There would be so many fish in that water. It would be pretty much everywhere on the earth. You would have
Why?
schools of fish, like big
Why?
schools of fish, because that's how our oceans are now.
So you're thinking that a flood? See, we know this is what floods do. Floods sort out things. We can see this with the largest trash heap out there, and again, it happens in. Hold on, it's called hydrologic sorting. So when you have currents and stuff, it pushes things together. You can go out right now, brother. You can go out to the trash heap right now in the Atlantic. I think it is where they're cleaning it up. The world. It's not just because people went to this one spot and threw out trash. Right? The currents have pushed this together in a big glob. We see this in floods. For you to say that it would be uniform across the world, that all of these fish layers would be uniform across the world, I just don't want to sound. Hold on. You can respond when I'm done. I don't want to sound mean, but it sounds like you're just ignorant. That you don't know how floods work.
You are.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, a flood would universally put everything
Where did all the
everywhere.
fish go then? Where did they all go?
They're in the
Where's
water.
this big cluster? Hold on. Where's this big cluster ended though? Because you're saying it all pushed it somewhere. Where is this location?
All over the planet. You see it. You see it in different vertebrates.
You're saying the exact same thing I'm saying, but you're completely denying what I'm saying. That's funny.
Does anybody
You
else?
said
Am I doing that? I
I'm
don't,
saying everywhere as well. You said everywhere. I'm saying
all over the
everywhere as
planet.
well.
Yes. So
And then
you
you're
have.
saying it's getting pushed to one location. Where's
So
that?
you have like big dinosaur bone beds, right? You have that go from the top of Texas all the way up into Canada. That's one bone bed of the dinosaurs, mainly three: duck-billed dinosaur, triceratops, and Tyrannosaurus Rex, if I'm not mistaken. Right? That's
more than
one.
that, but yes.
Sure, but I said mostly. That's the three most common, if I'm not mistaken. There are some others in it, but mostly it's those three common.
That's our favorite. That's just a favorite of people. It's not the most common.
Sure, I think it is, but it wouldn't matter. That's one dinosaur bone bed. So that shows that they got put together with the flood and then laid down right there.
That's not true. Do you know how those get made? Do you honestly know how the
Yeah, they
fossils
get
got made?
sure. So let's use Occam's razor. You know what that is?
I've heard of it.
Sure, it's Occam's razor.
I've heard
Which
no
one?
good argument with it.
Sure. Okay, fair enough. So is it more? Does it take the least amount of assumptions to believe that this Hell's Creek Formation was a swampy area that all these dinosaurs lived in, and through a course of millions of years, the same dinosaurs, mostly of the same body density type, adults, went into this swamp, fell over unalived, decayed for several months, and then got covered up rapidly in sediment because that's what you need for fossilization to form. Because if you don't cut off the oxygen content, then the microorganisms within the animal still eat the animal away. So it's not just burying it in the ground. It has to be rapidly covered with sediment.
I agree fossils get made by getting buried over time. I agree with that.
Sure. So did this happen over millions of years of these same dinosaurs decaying in various states? So they didn't unalive in a flood. They unalived, decayed, and then was covered up by a flood, which is very weird circumstances.
They didn't all decay.
Or did they all unalive in a flood, float around for several months, decay, and then as they got set down and the waters went off the continents, they washed over sediment over them, causing fossilization?
We have proof against that, so no.
Oh yeah, the soft tissue.
No, there's proof. There's soft tissue and other stuff too.
Yes.
There's evidence against what you're saying, but
What's the evidence?
so there's feathers, there's soft tissue, there
What
is
What does
skin,
feathers have to?
there's skin imprints of the dinosaurs.
Of course,
There's,
they still decay. There was in
hold on,
various
wait,
states
you're
of decay,
saying
right?
If they decayed, there would not be these things left. I'm sorry, they're just
Yes, they what? Yes, they would.
No, there wouldn't.
Yes, there would.
Decay would get rid of their skin.
It
Decay
does.
would get rid of their soft tissues.
Not-
I know, but we have found this stuff too. We have found this stuff.
Okay, so on the examples that you're talking about, like the Tyrannosaurus Rex, where we have found skin, was the rest of the animal still in various states of decay, and this part right here just hadn't decayed all the way? It wouldn't be fully nothing just decayed away, right? I would agree with you that there would still be some.
I'm sure there is some decay on the dinosaur. I'm sure there's
Oh,
some.
okay. Well,
That's
thank
not-
you.
Maybe,
So then
maybe
that's
not every little piece got
Thank you.
very deep enough.
thank
I
you.
can
That's
agree some of it,
that's exactly what my claim was. So thank you.
But your problem is here. If seawater touched these fossils and touched these animals the way you're saying they did,
Mhm.
it would destroy what you're talking about.
Wow, you're talking about saltwater.
Saltwater.
Okay, saltwater's a thing of erosion. The early flood models don't say that it was all saltwater, so that's a problem.
But it would be. It
No,
would be.
no,
Do
it
you know how
wouldn't
much
be.
salt we have on? No. Yes.
No,
100%.
it wouldn't.
Do you know how
No,
much salt we have
wouldn't
on
be.
Earth?
A lot.
Yes, it would.
No,
Sorry.
it wouldn't.
You're
And we can
absolutely
just go back and
insane if
forth
you're
and keep
saying
saying yes, no, but no. The
Explain
salt.
to me why wouldn't be saltwater?
Explain to me what desalination process do you have? Because the oceans are getting saltier, testable and observable. We know this through erosion.
Do you know why this is?
Are you okay?
Do you know why this is?
I answered that. Are you okay?
I am okay.
Okay, I want to make sure. Yeah,
Do you know why the oceans get
I
saltier?
literally said erosion, and then you asked me why. So I just want to make sure that you're okay, that you're
Yes,
able to
but
listen.
What is eroding? What's
The
eroding?
continents.
And what part is making it saltier? Because it's not just the continents. It's not just land mass making it saltier.
Yeah, it's the salt washing off of the landmass into the oceans.
No.
What is it?
There's salt in the bottom of the ocean. That there's stuff that gets kicked up. There is rock that disintegrates under the water itself, and it will make actually toxic areas of salt, and it gets spread around our oceans.
All right. So for the vast majority, the oceans are getting saltier because of erosion, right?
From inside the ocean itself, yes.
Okay. Thank you. So
Inside the ocean, though, not on land, what you're claiming.
the oceans are getting saltier. That's my claim. The oceans are getting saltier. Right? So if you play, all right, well, what happens if you play the clock backwards?
What do you mean? If you play the clock backwards?
Yep. If they're
the
saltier,
waters are still salt. They're still salty.
what happens if you
What's your point?
Oh,
It won't completely become fresh water. It won't. So
Why
I
not?
don't know what your argument is.
why not?
Because that's impossible. Impossible.
That's not an argument.
How are you? Yes, it is. How can you tell me salt can touch water and not make salt water? Tell me how
I'm
that
not saying there wasn't ever salt in different spots, but you're saying that the majority of it won't be
there's
fresh.
more salt in our Earth There's more salt in our oceans than you can freaking imagine. Where did that salt go? Where was it? You're just
It was laid down in sediment layers, guy.
no.
The land. Hold on, the land. I just want to let y'all know the land. If it has sodium, any rock that contains sodium and is dissolved into water, salt is Na. So NaOH is what you all call salt. So I mean,
what's your
the land itself being eroded, if that rock contains sodium, it can form new salt, even though the salt may have not been on the land. Just the sodium being dissolved into the ocean itself will make the water more salty.
Okay, and that's not where most of our salt comes from. So what's your point?
I mean, listen. You don't know where most of our salt comes from because you don't know the whole.
You're an absolute liar. You're an absolute liar.
How would you know what happened? How would you know what happened in the history of Earth before you were here?
Because we know where the land masses were in the past, and we know where they are
what
now.
I'm saying is when you have Na, which is sodium dissolving in water, that would make
What's your
NaOH.
point? You're literally Googling, and you're not actually.
I'm not Googling anything.
You are. You want to know why? Hold on. Let me explain to you.
I'm a board certified medical laboratory scientist. Listen. Stop your field growing. Stop field growing.
All right.
You're field growing
All right, let me get back in here. I'll let y'all go back at it just for a second, but clearly we're not going nowhere. All right, so let me ask you a question, Walking. Let me ask you a question, or Wolf. Sorry, I can't see the whole name there. Soft tissue and dinosaur bones.
Sure.
Okay, 65 million years.
Okay.
Can't last.
I'm not saying it does. What's your point?
So you think dinosaurs are not 65 million years old?
That's not how it works, but okay. What's your point?
I'm giving it to. I don't understand what you mean. What's my point?
Do you know how this works?
Yeah, we're finding soft tissue type material in dinosaur bones, so it can't last 65.
Soft tissue.
I think Tyrannosaurus Rex and the Triceratops, just to name two. I think the duckbill too. Duckbill.
Hold on, I'm gonna look this up real fast because I think you're misconstruing things.
Nope, it's Mary Schweitzer.
Hold on. I know soft tissue is found, but
He's
I
gonna-
don't recall
he
them
gonna-
saying it was from a.
Yeah, Tyrannosaurus Rex, Triceratops, and a duckbill dinosaur. I know for a fact they've done that, and he's going to Google it right after he told you you're just Googling stuff, Ezreal.
I want to see your claim real quick.
Mary Schweitzer. I can pull up the 60 Minutes interview if you'd like.
I don't care about random people's interviews because there's so much misinformation when it comes to some interviews.
She's the one that found it, and she's not a young Earth creationist. She's the one trying to say that iron in the blood will try to preserve it for 65 million years, but I don't care what she believes. Like you, she's still factually incorrect. She still found it.
So most of the soft tissue and most of that stuff gets replaced with minerals, not actual physical flesh. Let's put it this way.
I'm not calling it flesh. I said soft tissue. So they're finding soft tissue in dinosaur bones. I didn't say mostly. I didn't say flesh. I said soft tissue, and they are finding soft tissue in dinosaur bones.
Sure, I'm not disagreeing. They haven't found some.
Okay, it can't last 65.
I'm just wondering about the people, like the dinosaurs you're talking about. I know they found it in
the dinosaurs. I'm giving you
in saber-toothed tigers.
I'm giving you the best. That's my thing. I'm giving you your side, the evolutionary side. I'm giving you the best 65 million years. That's the earliest that it could be according to y'all. So if these bones, and actually the one,
65 million, the dinosaurs you said.
Are you okay?
No, what's 65 million? You just said 65 million years. That's all you said. You didn't say what is 65 million years.
Do you know that we're talking about dinosaur bones and soft tissue, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. The dinosaur bones are just when they came to existence. That's my point. The bones or the dinosaurs, period, because you can misconstrue both of them. Which one are you talking about?
All right, I'm going to try this again. Lord, give me patience. All right, so we have dinosaur bones that they found soft tissue in, right?
Sure.
At the earliest, the dinosaur bones for y'all would be 65 million years old at the earliest, right?
Okay.
Yep, that's what y'all believe. So that means that soft tissue, since we're finding soft tissue in it, that's a direct refute to it being 65 million years old, right?
Why? Why?
Because it's soft tissue. You think soft tissue can last 65 million years in the dirt?
I do just want to point out here,
If something doesn't have anything to degrade it, things can sit around for a very
It's
damn long time.
nowhere on our planet, especially under the soil, is it a closed system. And even if it was a closed system, still can't last 65 million years. That's why they're trying to come up with the theory now about how iron in the blood does it.
So you can find petrified wood from that age. So I don't know what you're going on about.
Petrified wood is not soft organic material.
It's organic matter.
It's not soft organic matter. It's actually
It doesn't have to be soft. It's organic matter.
I don't think you're listening. They can't soft tissue cannot we know the decay rates. And soft tissue cannot last 65 million years, right?
Okay. Maybe remnants of different things of it, but maybe not the soft tissue itself. Sure.
So the fact that we're finding soft tissue in dinosaur bones kind of puts you in a bad spot, right?
I very doubt you're actually finding actual
I very doubt.
flesh, So
I didn't
That's
stop.
the thing is it's not.
See,
it's
you're
not like
you're straw manning. Hold on, brother. I got you. I'll get to you. You're straw manning. I again for the second time. Sure. Did I say flesh? Did I say flesh? Or did I actually correct you?
soft tissue, so that'd be flesh. Yes.
No, it's not. Get off my stage. You're too stupid for this conversation. Soft tissue is not flesh. I actually corrected you last time, and now you're just being dishonest. That's why people don't last up here. When you said I was being dishonest before, that's why you get kicked. Because you sit up here and you straw man something and you lie about my position. I already corrected you and said I'm not calling it skin. It's not skin. I've never made that claim. I said soft tissue. And you're deliberately doing that in an effort because you're stuck and you're stuck on stupid. And because you're stuck, I can perfectly accept you saying, hey, man, I don't know about it. It's fine. I will say that if I don't know about something, I'll say, I don't know. I have to look into it. Send me the papers on it and I'll look more into it. But you can't do that. You got to hold your position. And in an effort for you to hold your position, you'll lie about something in an effort to get it right. That's dishonest when you lie about a position. I corrected you and said it's not soft skin, or excuse me, skin. T, man, you wanted to get in here. What's up, brother?
Right. Just to be clear on that, like you said, it's not like you're finding, soft skin in the ground. It's been mineralized, and what Dr. Schweitzer did was treated those fossilized bones that they found with a mild acid bath that removed the minerals from that tissue and allowed it to become pliable again.
Yeah, but that tissue was
preserved. It was preserved by the mineralization process.
But no, those parts that she stretched out was not mineralized. That's the point. The acid dissolved the mineralization.
Exactly right, but it was mineralized when they found it. That's why they had to do the acid bath to demineralize it, and then what was left was appeared to be pliable tissue.
Right, but I want to be very careful with the language because the pliable tissue was not mineralized. So it's true that it was in bone, and most of it looked like it was mineralized, but it wasn't. Clearly, the soft tissue was not mineralized.
I guess just so we're all clear, you're saying it was not mineralized after it was treated. I'm saying it was mineralized when it was found.
But it wasn't.
When it was pulled out of the ground, you have a fossilized bone where all the material in the bone has been replaced by minerals.
No,
and turned
that's
into a rock fossil.
But no, that's fact.
Other parts of it.
That's not true. That's factually inaccurate. When you say all of it, I will grant you if you say that it looks like all of it. I will grant that. But all of it is not mineralized. All of it's not. The part that stretches out, the stretchy that they get out, that's not mineralized. And we know that. It's not a question. We know that part didn't mineralize.
That I think you're incorrect about. I think it's more accurate to say that
it's not though, brother.
That they got this bone and they demineralized a part of the bone, demineralized a part of the fossil, and that what was left after that process,
the soft tissue was trapped in the
pliable tissue.
Then it could not be mineralized. You cannot have those are direct conflicts, brother. You can't have the same thing.
That's exactly what fossilization is.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. So fossilization takes the mineral and replaces the bone. So technically, there should be no bone or organic material left at all. It should just be mineral, meaning that it's rock that looks like it's in the shape of dinosaur bones. There should be no organic material left in it. But if you put it in an acid, that dissolves mineral and not organic material, and you left with organic material, then that's unequivocal proof that the organic material in it did not mineralize, brother.
Well, that's what makes Dr. Schweitzer's findings so revolutionary. Is typically, typically the bones the bones are entirely replaced. The organic material is entirely replaced by minerals. And that's what's special about her finding was that they found that some of the material still had organic compounds that were preserved in a mineralized matrix.
There you go. There you go. That's the way to say it. You're absolutely right.
And then when you remove that mineral lattice, some of that organic material is then recoverable.
Right.
And that was a new finding. That's a new thing. Now, I do want to point out, too, that Dr. Schweitzer has been on the record multiple times about she believes that young Earth creationists are misinterpreting her findings.
Yeah, she
just
doesn't.
To be clear.
She doesn't like it, but if you and I agree, that's why I like using her so much, because she's not on our side. But here's the thing about her: she is a scientist, so she presents her findings and says, "Go with it," and you guys can say what you will. That's true science. You present your findings and say, "This is my method. See if it's testable and repeatable," and it is. And this is why every video now that you see online, I always show hers, but the majority of them now are coming from young Earth creationists, because we understand that this can't last 65 million years. She doesn't agree with it. Now, Mary Schweitzer said they're trying to come up with a theory right now about iron in the blood creates the matrix and that preserves it for 65 million years. She has done tests on her with this iron in the blood itself, preserving it, but she's only got a couple of years out of it.
Preserves it long enough for mineralization to occur.
But it does. It still doesn't do it for It still can't do it for 65 million years. That's my point. That's my point. It can't do it for 65 million years. That's why most people don't know about this. When I talk to most people about this, they have no clue it's coming. Give me 1 second, guys. Here, I gotta let my man in here for 1 second. Go with it, brother. Hump day.
I hope everyone has an amazing Wednesday. All right, get your wraps on. Have a good one.
Thank you, man.
Same. I'm getting a phone call. Thank you for having me up, though. I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Appreciate you coming. Okay. Yeah, I hate he's getting a phone call, but yeah. So that's my point. You had organic material still in the bone that clearly spits in your face that it cannot be 65 million years. I don't care what test you want to say that happened. It cannot last 65 million years. That's my point. We know the decay rates of things. We can actually test this. You can put something in a full formaldehyde, a full preserving agent, and it's not going to last 65 million years, guys. So even though it was trapped in the matrix of this bone, sure, I'll give you that. But the whole thing after 65 million years should have been mineralized, all of it. And the fact that you can still find tissue in it, and it's not just one, it's not an offset. This is testable and repeatable. This is why young Earth creationists mostly do this, is because we know it's not 65 million years. That's real science. Retro, what's up, man?
I might have misheard you. Did you claim that they found blood in the dinosaur bones?
Well, no, not blood, but soft tissue.
Okay. Well, I thought you said something about blood earlier. My apologies.
I did. I'm saying that their theory is that iron in the blood preserves the soft tissue. That's what they're trying to come up with right now, about how iron in the blood prevents it from decaying. That's what they're coming up with. Not that there's still blood left, just that the iron that was in it at the time preserved it.
I thought I heard that it was mineralized around it, and then the mineralization made like a shell that protected any of the soft tissue inside of it.
It was.
That's why when they demineralized it, it was there. And
right, but it wouldn't.
So if it can't be replaced because it has a shell around it, of course it's going to stay.
But
somewhat pliable.
It's not a closed system, though. That's the point. So there is a shell on it because that's how mineralization happens. Obviously, it fossilizes from the outside in, clearly, but it's not a closed system as to where just the outside fossilizes, so therefore the inside material is preserved. That's not how it works. You're still going. It's an open system, so you're still going to have water permeating and replacing bones with mineral. That's still going to happen. And in 65 million years, there should be no soft tissue left. Period. That's the point.
I get the point.
Yeah.
But I haven't been up on the research recently. I read it. I was kind of more up on it when it first happened.
Well, you can look at it, and I would encourage anybody to look at it, because you have to look at what they're claiming and then compare. Like Mary Schweitzer done a test and put organic material inside of iron-rich blood, and it did preserve it for 2 years, but they won't tell you what the decay rate was. And when you ask that about the paper, you can go read the papers, the scientific papers that Mary Schweitzer did on this. They'll say, see, therefore we know that iron preserves it. Boom. But no, what was the decay rate? You still have to test the decay rate. What's the decay rate in a preserving agent? What's the decay rate? Well, the papers go, well, we didn't test that. We just tested whether it would slow it down. Okay, I would grant you it would slow it down. But does the decay rate stop it from decaying for 65 million years? And the reason why they won't tell you that is because the answer is clearly no. They don't know how they do it yet. So that's why they only give you mean to tell me that they preserved tissue inside of iron to show that it preserves it, but they didn't do the decay rate? That doesn't make any sense. Of course they did. But the decay rate doesn't reach 65 million years. So that's why you don't hear about it yet.
Very well could be. Like I said, I'm not.
I got you, brother. You got to.
I know that they found heme. I just didn't. I thought you said they had found blood.
No. They found like if I'm not mistaken, hemoglobin. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong about that.
Just heme. Heme is just the iron in the blood.
There you go. I think they found fossilized red blood cells too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just the red in the red blood cells is just the iron.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, the goblins all died. The hemogoblins.
The hemogoblin. I like that. I'm going to use that. Hemogoblin.
All right, I'm going to drop. I'll check somebody else.
All right, brother. Yeah, man. Appreciate you. Hemoglobin. He called it hemoglobin. I like that. That's pretty good. I'm going to use that. So. All right, guys.
Well, and the need for them to not have a guy so they don't have any responsibility.
Yeah.
They don't care about, you know what I'm saying? They don't really care about, like I said, they don't care about the science of it. They don't care about any of that. They claim they care, but when they get proven wrong, they retreat to, well, God is evil because babies get sick sometimes. Yeah. Well, I'm mad at God for this other reason. My friend got sick and my cousin unalived. So I'm mad at God. And I'm like, just say you're mad at God. Stop trying to blame it on science, because now people are holding your feet to the fire. And I'm seeing more and more that these atheists do not actually understand biology.
Yeah, that's
or chemistry.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%, brother. I do this all the time, man. They don't. And then the Christians that I get, the young man he wasn't young. The older guy that come up here, I claimed that he was, a partial scientist. His words, not mine. I did not like the fact. The reason why I didn't have a conversation with him and I removed him from the panel is because he just comes up here and makes a claim and then he don't want to support it or even learn from it. I'm like, your authority is the quote unquote experts. You're not looking at what the Bible says. My authority is the Bible. Admittedly, my authority is the Bible, and then I like science. I'm going to go with what the Bible says first. But those of you who are listening to my arguments, I very rarely bring up the Bible as an argument for science. Very rarely. And the reason why is because obviously I know you don't accept that, so I don't bring that up. But his authority was an argument from authority. My authority is the fact that really smart people believe this. Okay, I don't care what they believe. That's no impact on me, what they believe. I want to know the truth.
When he uses that argument that a lot of scientists agree on this, so I'm going to tell you something. We don't answer surveys, sir.
Well, yeah, Benji.
We don't answer surveys. So how would you know what a lot of scientists believe when they send us a survey because we have so much work? Do you know what we do? Because I'm home now. But the reason why I don't get on camera is because I'm traveling sometimes or I'm in a lab somewhere where you can't be on the camera. And the truth is, when you send us any type of survey, we don't answer it.
Yeah.
So most of the time, we're not even allowed to. We're not allowed to answer most surveys anyway. And the few of us that are allowed to answer surveys, we don't answer them. I'm busy. I got patients to handle. I got to fix a machine. Some lady, I see some weird cell in a 2-year-old baby. I'm doing the screens. I'm up in the lab with the pathologist because I found hairy cell leukemia in a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got stuff to do. Do I have time to stop during my day and answer a survey? Do you believe in evolution? No, I don't have time to answer that survey. So the 100 scientists they got to answer it, amazing. There's millions of us. And by the way, science is not decided by agreement. Science is decided by facts.
Yeah.
If one scientist is right and the other million are wrong, that one scientist is still right.
Benji, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought you were done, brother.
I'm done.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate it. Hey, you're 100% right, brother. I agree with you 100%. Benji, welcome back, man. Listen, I'm not like upset with you or kicked you for if you don't want to talk about the specifics or us that's why I removed you, because there's no conversation in that, right?
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, ask me a question.
Yeah. So you said you believe you're a Christian, so you believe Jesus, right? So my question is why you believe that part. Now, again, this is not a salvation issue, so I don't want to seem like I'm beating you up, but you come back up here, obviously, so we could have this conversation. So why do you believe the Jesus part is true and not myth, but you don't believe the Genesis part?
Well, when we talk about the Genesis part, I mean, I'm referring more specifically to the beginning of Genesis and a lot of the assumptions about the age of the earth. I don't think God intended the Bible to be a scientific anything.
I agree.
I think he's talking in generalities, and I do believe that the Adam and Eve story and the Noah stories, I think they're largely parables. I don't think they're literal.
Fair enough. I get that a lot too, but here's what we can look at the textual criticism. So I agree with you 100%. The Bible's not written as a science book, right? It's not meant to do that. I would agree with it. But it also has some truths in it. And for example, it's diametrically opposed to the Bible, 100%. One of them has to be wrong. They both can't be true. One of them has to be wrong because they're diametrically opposed. For example, evolution.
I'd agree with you.
Yeah. So then which one's wrong? I got a problem for me to say the Bible's wrong.
Interpretation to be literal, then I would agree with you. But large parts of the Bible, particularly when Jesus preaches, or you can get into the the apocalyptic literature like Revelation, Daniel, et cetera, Ezekiel. A lot of the Bible is parable and stories.
I would agree, but we also have to look at what was meant.
Why? Go ahead.
We have to look at what's meant to be taken as parable and what's not meant to be taken as parable. Like, for example, the lineage. That's not meant to be taken parable. They actually use that to show that Jesus come from David, and obviously David eventually come from Adam. So that's not meant to be taken as parable. It's literally a huge chunk of the Bible says this one begot that one and this one begot that one. And that's where you get the age from. I would grant you that the Bible doesn't say how old the earth is, but it can't be millions or billions based off the lineage, period, because it is very detailed and it's not meant to be taken as a parable when it gives the lineages. And it starts off by saying that Adam was 130 when Seth was begotten, and then it goes from that. Then you get all the way to Abraham, then you get to Jesus. So those lineages are not parables. Those are lineages that's meant to be taken seriously. And the Jews took it very seriously. But there's too much detail in Genesis for it to be a parable, like the days of creation. It's the only spot in the Bible that I know that it preferences a time period with an additional time period, emphasizing that this is a time period. It doesn't just say in the Hebrew word is yom. So it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In the morning, it says the morning and the evening were the first day. A day there is yom. So that could be a long period of time. Like if I say, hey, me and Benji knew each other since back in the day, you would understand that when I said day there, it wasn't a literal 24-hour period. It was a long period ago. You can use that in the Hebrew word yom. But what you can't do is say that those are long periods of time, because every single day is preferenced with a singular morning and a singular evening. It says the morning and the evening were the first day. The evening and the morning were the second day. The evening and the morning were the third day. The evening and the morning were the fourth day. It does it on every single day with the exception of the seventh day was never closed out.
It also says that there's an evening and the morning before the sun's even created.
That's right.
So,
That's
obviously we can't take that literally. In fact, it says the plants were there before the sun was created.
100%.
If you extrapolate that out over long periods of time, like I've heard some old Earth creationists, maybe I fit in this boat. But if you extend that out over, each day,
right,
to God's like 1,000 years or whatnot. So each day is a million years or something. So then you've got plants existing without a sun for a million years.
That's right.
I don't think God meant any of this to be like a literal scientific interpretation. I think it's a parable. And I think that's just what I believe. And I think we can agree to disagree on that.
Yeah, I would agree. The only thing I'm pushing back on, brother, like I said, you can believe that. I just don't think it's genuine to believe that because the Bible doesn't read that way. Jesus wrote it on a rock with his finger, right? He said in the book of Exodus, he says he's talking about remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Because he said in 6 days, I made heaven and earth and all that in them is, everything he made in those 6 days. He wrote it on a rock with his finger. So, and then Jesus talks about man and woman. He said, because in the beginning he made Adam and Eve, but people believe that there was before Adam and Eve. So that's not the beginning. So now I got to call Jesus a liar. I got to call, God the Father, if you want to believe it was him in Exodus writing on the rock, I got to call him a liar. And then, I think it's easier. And then when I look at the science, this is the part that gets me too, Benj. When I look at the science, I don't see any reason not to agree with it.
And that was kind of my original question, which is rambling, I admit it. But if what you're saying is true, then write it. Put it in a paper. Have it peer reviewed. Do you realize? I mean,
I'm not.
You say earlier that
I read a lot of stuff, Benji. I'm not.
People to Christ.
Yeah, I'm not the author of this. I'm not the author of this stuff, though. Well, yeah, you got like a delay, so I'm not trying to interrupt you. I think you're done.
If you could use science to prove that the world's 12,000 years old or younger than that, and that, the scientific consensus on evolution and cellular and molecular biology are wrong, the scientific consensus on geology is wrong, if you could put those in the scientific papers that could be published, that'd be outstanding. So why don't you do it? Why doesn't anybody do that?
They do. There's whole fields to this. It just doesn't get. Now you're gonna let me finish. Now you're gonna let me finish. There's whole fields that do this. You can go to Answer in Genesis, right? They're not going to get published by your evolutionary biologist, brother. They're not, because your evolutionary biologist is an evolutionary biologist, so they're not going to go with it at all. But there's plenty of material out there, and you want me to write. I'm not the author of this stuff. I love looking it up. I love studying it, but I'm not the author of this stuff.
Would be published. Now that'd be papers arguing against it and giving data, and then people could sit back and
they
look
do
at it and look at the argument.
What do you? That's what I do. What do you? Benji, where do you think I get my information from? I don't make this stuff up. It's not something that I just thought about. I clearly read and look up everything that I can about creation. And I read the papers that I read the secular papers and I read the Christian papers. So it's not, I'm not making this up. So what do you mean that why don't they do that? They are doing it. Just go read it, man. Like I said, all of this stuff, Answers in Genesis, I just literally gave you. That's a great resource for it.
The answer is in Genesis. Yes, I've looked into that. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you disagree with it?
Yeah, from what you're talking, is that Ken Hovland?
Ken Ham, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, brother.
He cherry picks a lot of stuff, and he particularly likes to cite stuff from like 1974.
Oh,
come on.
Okay, but I watch their stuff. They got a YouTube channel. They come out with stuff almost weekly.
No, I've watched a lot of his stuff.
So what do you disagree with?
Ken Hovland stuff, I know his heart's in the right place, but I keep coming back to the question: is this the best we got?
I think that's pretty legit. Like, for example, well, do you know how they get these millions and millions of years? Radiometric dating? Have you?
Well, I mean, there's different dating methods like radiocarbon dating.
It's all
things
radiometric
like
dating
that
that gives
I
you.
know there's a lot of debate about that.
Do you, okay, are you familiar with the okay, so just the three things that you have to assume in every radiometric dating technique, every one of them, without fail. One, you have to assume the parent material. You have to know how much was in it to compare it to know how much is decayed away, right? It's the decay rate. You have to assume the parent material. That by itself, brother, should disqualify every single one of it. If you don't know how much was in it when it unalived or whatever you're measuring, I like to use carbon-14.
It's not that simple, my friend. I mean, it's that's one aspect of it. I mean,
I know, and the other ones is you're imagining. You're imagining. Hold on, let me get through this. Okay.
You can go out to the lake behind my house.
Yep.
In Minnesota here, and I can do this. I can pound a tube down into the lake bottom, and you can count the sedimentation layers from lake stratification, and you can count those layers back to about 10,000 years.
No,
anybody can do that.
No, you can't. You're automatically.
If you do that.
How are you
in California, for instance? You count back to 480,000 years.
No, you can't. Those sediments layers were laid down in Noah's flood.
No, they weren't.
Okay, so you say no, I say yes. I'm going back to the radiometric dating, the assumptions. One, you have to assume the parent material. Two, you have to assume the decay rate stays constant. Now, since it's a nuclear force, I will grant you the decay rate stays constant. But I also want you to realize how absurd that is, even though I'm going to grant it, okay? Even though I grant it, we've only been observing the decay rate for, 100 years now that we've known about the decay rate and saying it's constant? So it's been constant for 100 years. All of your other radiometric dating, with the exception of carbon-14, gives you billions of years. And you want to tell me that because we've observed it for 100, therefore we know that over a billion or billions of years that we know the decay rate is constant? Ridiculous. But it's a nuclear force, so I'll grant that just for the sake of argument and say the decay rate is constant. Third, you have to assume that it's in a closed system. There's no leaching. For example, carbon-14 has a half-life of 5,000 years. You shouldn't find any measurable carbon-14 because it goes from a half, then it goes to a fourth, then it goes to an eighth, then a 16th, and a 32nd, and a 64th, and technically it never goes to zero. But after 50,000 years, you should not have any clicks on your Geiger counter from carbon-14, from radiometric 14, right? The problem is that they find it in diamonds. They find it in dinosaur bones. How do you get carbon in diamonds and dinosaur bones if diamonds are billions of years old and dinosaur bones are 65 million and the half-life is 5,000? They'll tell you why. They'll tell you that it's leaching. It's called leaching. It brought in radioactive material and placed it inside. Okay, the moment you allow that open system, and it's not a closed system, you have to get rid of radiometric dating because you don't have a method to say how much material went into it. And I would encourage you, Benji, since you're a science guy, are you aware of the scientific fields that they have to come up with in an effort to prop up radiometric dating, like wiggle matching, like the Hallset plateau, like I love the marine reservoir effect. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not an expert in that.
Yeah, so the marine reservoir effect, if you're, let's say you're dating a dog's leg, a hind leg of a dog, and you want to do a carbon-14 dating on it, and you want to know how much, when it was alive. But this thing was actually inside the ocean for a period of time, but you don't know how long. You have to take in the depth of the ocean because it has old carbon in it. It holds more than the atmosphere. So if it was ever in deep water, then you got a problem because you got old carbon in it. If it was near any uprisings, if it was near any currents, if it was what part of the ocean it was found in, because again, you'll have different radiocarbon-14 dates in it, and you have to determine the diet that it ate, because your diet, what you eat, can throw your radiometric dating off.
See, you should publish all this.
They have.
What you're doing is
they have.
Literally hundreds of thousands of scientists over
No,
the last 50 to 100 years.
That's not true.
And if what you're saying is true, then this is like Nobel Prize stuff.
I know. Do you think that I made, so it's called the Repton Viking burial site, where the radiometric. Okay, so when you're saying so if you're telling me I should publish this stuff, I would literally get in trouble, brother. I can't do that. I can't take somebody else's work and then go publish it.
You can do a composite publication where you reference other people's work.
Sure, fair enough.
You can.
But I'm doing that. I'm doing that now.
What? There's a lot of people that want to believe what you believe and maybe even convert me. If I could look at a coherent, scientific, peer-reviewed paper that summarized everything you said, you reference all the applicable scientific literature and studies that have been done, and that gets put out there, that'd be great. Why don't you do it? Or why doesn't Azrael and his...
All right, brother, I got you, but that's an argument from authority, man. It's just an argument from authority.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
It's proven.
I said I got one question. Benji, I got one question. You said convert you though. How could he convert you to a Christian if you're already a Christian?
Not convert me to Christianity, convert me to young earth creationism with no evolution. I've looked through, I've tried to find composite papers like this where somebody could summarize Kevin Hovland's claims.
I'm gonna finish up, guys. But here's
concise
Benji,
manner that actually references real peer-reviewed scientific.
That's the thing, man.
And I can't find anything.
Yeah, that's because you're already setting the standard. If I don't find peer-reviewed science, okay, peer-reviewed's not it doesn't make it an end-all be-all, brother. Just like Azrael mentioned earlier before, every single one of these say it's a great step to figuring out how life created. That's scientific. That's science fiction talk. But you're asking,
brother. That's what it is.
Okay, your standard is always going to be wrong,
brother. Because then you would have scientists that would reveal.
All right, that's an argument from either.
Okay, so you made a bunch of claims, my friend, that are outside my specialty. In a peer-reviewed paper, you would have the scientific community looking at your claims.
I'm literally giving it to.
Accountability.
I'm giving it to you now. So this is why. This is why I like having the conversations, because I'm doing it to you now. So if you have something that can refute it, then bring it up. If not, then just continue to go with your argument from authority that really smart people believe it. So I'm going to believe it too. That's not free thinking, but if that's what you want to do.
Don't challenge a guy. Don't challenge a guy like me who's a rudimentary. I've got my own field of specialty. Propose it to the scientific community. Have them take a look at your claims.
All right.
Why hide from that? If it's the truth, don't hide.
I'm not hiding it. I'm not hiding. I have an open platform. And because I don't do it the way you want me to do it, so therefore I'm wrong. Tell them to come up here and I'll debate them any day of the week. Okay? This is the way I do it.
We don't. This isn't
all right,
debate.
Benjamin. We're not.
Okay, how about not you? Somebody in the Christian community do what I'm saying.
They already have. You don't read it. All right, Benji.
Point me to the paper.
I appreciate the conversation, but we've run out again. Okay, brother.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, man. You're going to hold the standard to a peer-reviewed in the peer. It's not peer, right? So a Christian paper would be peer-reviewed by other Christians because that's their peers. You're not going to get an evolutionary biologist to review my work that refutes them. You can't see that because you don't want to, man. You put your faith in scientists and not science in Jesus, right? My faith goes in Jesus first, and he wrote the laws of science. Thank you for the stickers, guys. So the laws of science prove him. And anything that you can't answer that you disagree with, you're just like, well, you're just going with the consensus. Why don't I see you write a paper? Go worship your papers, man. Go worship your papers. I don't know what to tell you. It's not a salvation issue. So I hope to see you in heaven. I will say this, though. It is a consistency issue because many people are going to tell Jesus. They're going to say, Lord, Lord. And Jesus is going to say, no, I never knew you. Not that I knew you once, but I never knew you. Now, I'm not saying you're not saved or none of that. It's none of my business. I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't make that claim. I wouldn't know. But I do think that it is weird when people are saved and say, I don't believe what he said. I do find that weird. They pick and choose. You said Ken Ham was picking and choosing. And then you do the same thing when you pick and choose what part of the Bible you want to believe in. I do think that that's weird. But it's not a salvation issue, man. I hope to see you in heaven. DOA, what's up? I'm going to give you the last word before I roll out of here.
Hey, brother. So I didn't catch the end because I took a step out of the car. Did he say he believed on Jesus Christ?
Yeah, he said he was a Christian.